Live. All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled Taber Town Council meeting for October 23rd, 2023. We do also have a organizational meeting of council slated for today. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we table the organizational meeting to after the regular meeting of council, please.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, with that, I will call the regular scheduled meeting of council to order and ask for adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councilor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to item 3, public hearings. Item 3.1, public hearing for direct control development application 23131. Mr. Thibault.
We've got Ms. Selena Newberry and Chris Egan, who will come forward and speak to this particular one.
All right, so I will call that meeting to order as well and ask for both Selena and Chris to speak to that, if you would, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Councilors. Our first public hearing today is for a development permit 23-131 at 5506 46th Avenue. The developer is looking to build a shopping center on this property, and as this is a direct control district, it does come to council. So we'll have the public hearing so you can hear from anybody for or against it and take that into consideration.
Thank you. So just to back it up, so we missed this, or I missed this, looking for adoption of the agenda related to this public hearing as well, please. All right, thank you. Councilor Beckern, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right. All right, thank you, Selena. Anything else to add with that?
Not at this time.
All right, and all right, just for all members of the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for the direct control development application 21131, you'll have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state your full name for the record. Also must state if they're speaking for themselves or on behalf of any group or organization. All right, so with that, is there anyone present that wishes to speak for the direct control application 21131? Anyone speaking for 131 for second time? Anyone speaking for the item 23-131 a third time? Seeing none. All right, speaking for anyone against, wishing to speak against item 23-131. Yes, sir. If you just state your name and any organization you may be representing.
My name is Brian Kinahan.
Yes, Brian.
I have the unfortunate situation of living right across the street from the proposed development. I'm not against development, but I have a number of concerns. First one is traffic on 55th Street. Traffic comes off that highway now and drives down that road like it's a highway. And as you start to build things up in there, you're going to have, especially with 2 drive-throughs. I noticed today when we went to Walmart that the traffic at Wendy's was backed up right out onto the road. Now what happens on 55th Street when that happens, with 2 drive-throughs, it's a concern for us. I'm not against the development, but I have major concerns about traffic, about garbage, because you know what happens with fast food restaurants. You're going to have garbage all over the place. It's going to be on my yard, and I'm not very excited about it. We also have a garage. It backs on to 55th Street. Getting out of that garage, as traffic continues to increase there, I just see a real problem. So I struggle with probably as much as anything with the fast food restaurants that are being proposed in there. I assume, all I know is that they're restaurants. So I just need to know how that's going to be addressed, because the major thing is really the traffic, how you're going to control that. I would love to see it controlled by I don't know what. I've complained to the police before about how fast they drive down that street. They come off that highway going 60, 70 kilometers an hour, and somebody's gonna get killed. There's a stop sign going across 55th on 45th. Nobody pays attention to it. So there's issues as traffic starts to increase. We're gonna have a problem there. And if that's not addressed, I think we'll have some real issues.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tebow?
Thank you.
Just from you, Brian, before you go, we need an address for our records. Your address, please.
The address is 5423 45th Avenue.
Great, thanks.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak against bylaw 23-131? For second time? Anyone else wishing to speak to bylaw 23-131 the third time? All right, anything else we can add, Mr. Tebow, at this stage?
From the development perspective, I don't know if there's anything further to add as far as conditions that might speak to that or not.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Darren, we would do that, I think, during the actual portion where we're discussing the application itself.
Okay, so just later in today's meeting, that would come up and that can be addressed as far as you're aware at this stage? Okay, great, thank you. All right, seeing nothing further, I'd ask for Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to make a motion
Sure.
that council accept for information the input received at the public hearing for direct control development application 23-131.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Just ask for a motion to close the meeting, please. Councillor McLean, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 3.2, related to item 23-132. I would call this public hearing meeting to order and ask for the adoption of that agenda as well. Councillor Sorensen, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Again, members of the public in attendance wishing to speak against or for the direct control development application 23-132 will have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state their name for the record and must state if they are speaking for themselves or on behalf of a group or organization. All right, Mr. Tebow?
We'll call up Selena and Chris again.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. For development permit application 23-132, again, it is in a direct control district, so it does require a public hearing, so we've arranged for that today. This property is adjacent to the previous property, and many of the same conditions as well.
All right, thank you. And nothing in any written format that you've received? In any format?
No, I have nothing in written format. I did receive a few inquiries, but nothing in written.
All right, thank you. All right, is anyone present who wishes to speak against direct control bylaw application 23-132? This is sure. This is actually a different bylaw, but you also wish to speak against this one?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Yes, Brian Kinahan, 5423 45th Avenue.
Thank you,
The
Brian.
same issues that I just had.
All right.
That's a lot of development for a very small area and a lot of traffic coming through there. And concerns with garbage and speed and traffic and all of it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Just to confirm for Selena, this also will be addressed in that same format later in the meeting, correct? Thank you. All right, anyone wishing to speak against application 23-132 for a second time? Anyone wish to speak against application 23-132 a third and final time? All right, seeing none. Anyone representing to speak to direct control bylaw 23-132-4. Anyone present wish to speak for the direct control development application 23-132 a second time? And anyone wishing to speak for development application 23-132 for a third and final time? All right, seeing none. Someone prepared to make a motion for the information purposes? Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council accepts for information the input received at this public hearing for land use bylaw amendment 13-2020, or, sorry, is that the right one?
23-132.
Or 23-132, thank you.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Sorensen. All right, Councillor Bruin. Someone prepared to close the meeting. A motion for the close the meeting, please. Councillor Bruin, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Good, thank you. All right, dealing with agenda item 3.3, public hearing item. Ask for the adoption of that agenda as well, please. Councillor Firth,
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Once again, members of the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for the land use bylaw amendment 13-2023 for redistricting will have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state their full name for the record. And also must state if they are speaking for themselves or on behalf of any other organization. All right, Mr. Tebow.
We'll ask for the same duo to come forward again, please.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council.
Good afternoon.
Oh, the TV went out. There we go. So this public hearing is for a bylaw amendment we've put forward for 13-2023 for redistricting. We are looking to redistrict this property to a direct control to better allow for the development, particularly a second home on the property.
All right, just to clarify, have you received any written information related to the for or against to speak to item 13-2023?
No, at this time we have not received any written information.
All right, thank you. Is anyone present who wishes to speak against land use bylaw amendment 13-2023 for redistricting? Anyone wishing to speak against bylaw 13-2023 for a second time? Anybody wish to speak against item 13-2023 for redistricting a third and final time? All right, seeing none. Related to indications for the land use bylaw, any representative here wishing to speak for the land use bylaw 13-2023 for redistricting? Anyone wish to speak to amendment 13-2023 redistricting for a second time? And anybody present wishing to speak for land use bylaw amendment 13-2023 for redistricting for a third and final time? All right, seeing none, ask for a motion to declare the public hearing closed. Councillor Renfret.
The input received at this public hearing for the land use bylaw amendment 13-2023 for redistricting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Just a motion to close that public hearing meeting, please. Councillor Firth.
I move that we close the meeting.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. And one more time, item 3.4. Call the public hearing meeting to order and ask for the adoption of that agenda, please. Councillor Sorensen?
I move that, sorry, we open the meeting.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Tebow, anything to add?
Nothing to add. I'll just be asking Chris and Selena to come forward one more time.
All right.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So for this public hearing, we're looking to make an amendment to our land use bylaw, Amendment 14-2023. No, this should be 13, right?
This is
Okay,
14,
14.
yes.
So this one is for to allow the use of shipping containers in our downtown district. I did receive several phone calls regarding this as I sent a letter out to all the registered landowners. I did not receive any written responses, however.
All right, thank you for that clarification. All right. Once again, members of the public in attendance who wish to speak against or for land use bylaw amendment 14-2023 will have a 5-minute time limit for speaking and must state their full name for the record and must state if they are speaking for themselves or on behalf of any other group or organization. All right, anyone present wishing to speak against bylaw amendment 14-2023? Anyone wishing to speak against land use bylaw amendment 14-2023 a second time? Anybody wishing to speak against bylaw amendment 14-2023 for a third and final time? Seeing none, all right. Anyone wishing to speak in favor for bylaw amendment 14-2023? Anyone wish to speak for the bylaw amendment 14-2023 a second time? Anyone wishing to speak for amendment bylaw 14-2023 for a third and final time? All right, seeing none. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you. I make a motion that council accepts the information, the input received at the public hearing for land use bylaw amendment 14-2023 for redistricting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 4, adoption of the minutes. Item 4.1, minutes of regular meeting of council, October 10th, 2023. Mr. Tebow.
Administration has nothing to add. The minutes are in front of council for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Any questions, concerns, changes? Someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on October 10th, 2023 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5, business arising. There are none. Item 6, bylaws. Item 6.1, second and third reading, land use bylaw amendment 13-2023. Mr. Tebow.
So in follow-up, we'll be getting Selena and Chris to come forward to speak to this.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we're looking for our second and hopefully third reading for our bylaw amendment 13-2023 to redistrict the subject property. This property we're looking to redistrict to a direct control district. This will allow us a little more control and allow for a second residence on this very specific property because this isn't something we normally want in our town. We have been talking with the landowner, so they are aware. They have had a chance to review the bylaw. They had a chance and were notified so they could come to the public hearing if they had any concerns or objections they wanted to raise. And I think that's...
All right, any other questions? Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion that council gives second reading to bylaw 13-2023 to amend land use bylaw 13-2020 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, thank you. Someone prepared to make the next motion. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives third reading to bylaw 13-2023 to amend land use bylaw 13-2020 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Cecile, did you talk to the landowner, you said? Or the adjacent landowner, or?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Beckering. Yes, we initially, this came about from a meeting I had with the landowner and an issue that came up, and this was administration's solution. And then part of the process is we did send letters to all the adjacent landowners. Like when we did the public hearing portion of this and sent out the ad, I also gave it a minimum of 2 weeks notice. I mailed out letters to everybody within 100 meters, which actually isn't that many. It's the town of Tabor and like 2 other people because the MD is on the other side. The MD also got notice of this during the initial phase of notification, and we gave them 30 days notice to provide us any comments.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
As
absolutely.
a follow-up, Mr. Mayor, if I may, sure. Were there any negative comments verbally made to you, Cecile?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Beckering, no, I received no negative comments, verbally or written. The only concern was that it didn't impede the agricultural process of the land in the area. And this should not impede any agricultural. It's a second home on the property.
All right, thank you. All right, any other questions arising? All right, seeing none, someone prepared to make that motion?
I did already.
Oh, sorry, you're right. No, I'm getting ahead of myself. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.2, second and third reading, Land Use Bylaw Amendment 14, 2023. Mr. Tebow.
Looks like they got to stay this time, so they can continue on.
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, for Bylaw Amendment 14-2023, we are looking to make a text amendment in our downtown district. This text amendment would allow for the use of shipping containers, which currently are not allowed there. During the last reading, Councillor Sorensen did raise some concerns over congestion, specifically with how it would work with our parking in the downtown district. And so at the time I didn't have the answer. It was actually already in the bylaw, so I have highlighted it. And condition F, which exists in our current bylaw, this isn't something we've added in, this exists already, but it would still be in this new one. A shipping container shall not occupy the minimum required spaces, loading spaces, or landscaped areas. So if they meet their minimum required and they had more, they could apply to put it in those extra spaces, but they cannot apply to put it in their minimum spaces. A change of use in our downtown. I've got that one highlighted in here too. So for our commercial development in our downtown district, we may provide for half the total required parking, identified without needing a waiver. So if, say, you're building a restaurant downtown, you only have to meet half of what the requirement is for the downtown, and you don't need to ask for a waiver. If you're less than that, then you're asking for a waiver. If you're a change of use, so that's a building already exists, you're not building new, and you're just changing the use, as long as the parking spaces from the previous use remain, you don't need any change. So shipping containers aren't a change of use, really. They're more like an accessory structure. Think of it like a shed. If somebody wants to put a shed in, we actually don't have restrictions that say they can't put their shed in a minimum parking space. Then they have to ask for a variance. But here we have it kind of spelled out, like if we shouldn't be allowing it in there. So we have some pretty specifics that say where they could go and couldn't go.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And did we, through to administration, and did we put in there about, sorry, I didn't notice anything about having it look nice, you know, kind of match the building so that it's not just a ton of shipping containers all flopped around?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Councillor McLean. We have Part C. It says it shall be located in the rear yard only in the downtown district or in the rear or side yards of districts. That's the one one of the ones we changed. The other one we changed is we added in this J at the bottom, that when it's located in a downtown district, the finished appearance shall be complementary to the primary structure and that of the surrounding area and to the development authority's satisfaction. So it gives us a little leeway.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I overheard that perhaps you had some phone calls from citizens. I was wondering if you could share those comments.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Sorensen, pardon me. I did mail a letter out to each and every one of the landowners that was registered in our downtown district. I did receive maybe 10 phone calls or so. A lot of them were just curious as to what was going on. So I explained what we have in the current bylaw as it was coming back to council. Most of them were just concerned that it wasn't going to be in parking lots or in a side yard. Or I did hear one comment about they do worry that it will be something that collects garbage, things like that. So that is something to think about. I did hear from people that are excited about the idea that they could possibly put one in their business where they couldn't before and they had wanted to. I did make sure to tell each and every one of them that it is pretty specific, so not every business will necessarily be able to utilize this. So,
Thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
If I could
Sure,
continue, Mr.
absolutely.
Mayor. Yeah, I did discuss it with a few other, business owners downtown. And they are concerned about congestion and how we're trying to beautify the downtown. And they would hate for this to then set us back. So, I'm happy that you had something in your bylaw that hopefully will, make it aesthetically pleasing. I'm impressed that it won't take up, parking spots because again, it is very congested down there. I'm just a little bit leery as to how we can control garbage and people using it for just storage units and so forth. I'm not sure if you could answer that.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Sorensen, I don't know that we can fully control garbage, even with a shed. Like, say somebody applied to build a shed, which is a discretionary use in the downtown district. It could still collect garbage. They could still collect garbage in their alley. We do have the unsightly premises bylaw, and I believe we should be able to use that bylaw to enforce properties that are containing a lot of garbage and stuff on them. But yeah, I don't know that there's truly a way that you could ever fully enforce no garbage. You know, people litter, unfortunately, so.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, someone prepared to make the first required motion? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives second reading to bylaw 14-2023 to amend land use bylaw 13-2020 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Pardon me? You had a question? Sure, Councillor Bruin.
Just clarify, this will be on a case per case basis, like this, we're not opening it up to all the businesses.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Bruin, every business downtown would have the right to apply. It's a discretionary use, so it's not like permitted use where you have to give the permit. So they would have to be able to meet the requirements. So, and there's some fairly stringent requirements here, right? So, and if they're looking for variances, I think in this case, we'd be far less likely to recommend a variance on something like this, just knowing where
It
we're
has to
at.
be able to.
Yeah, so if you're not meeting these requirements, we would be very unlikely to recommend an approval.
Yeah,
in
but
the
being
first
that I
place.
sit on the MPC, so this
Yeah.
came before us as well.
Yeah, it will come, every one of these would come before the MPC because they're discretionary use.
As long as we can control it. The garbage, what they put inside their building, I guess that's their choice, but they still will have to meet community standards with anything outside the building. And so as long as it fits and doesn't take up parking, I'll carry on with it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Sorry, one more. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if there's a tenant upstairs, would they be allowed to have a C-can on the premise?
So that would be a residential use. I think this would be for commercial use only. And it would be the landowner that would have to apply. Now, if the landowner were to apply for a shipping container for storage and they allowed their tenant to store something in there, we wouldn't be able to prevent that. So, but we also, you're limited to how many containers you can have on a property. And downtown, you would definitely be limited to how many because it's based on size. So it's not like every tenant would be able to get one of these either, right? So I can see some properties where it would be actually a benefit if they have tenants so that, you know, they could store bikes and things that are safer and because either way, a lot of people want a shed, but if they can take this instead of a shed, they'll take this because it's better fireproof, better weatherproof, better proof for break-ins and stuff like that.
All right, sure.
Yeah, I see the benefit, definitely. I'm just not sure if I see the benefit of it being downtown. So I just have some concerns, but thank you for answering.
All right, thank you. Just a clarification question. Is there anything to a commercial business that has a resident there as well? Does that change anything or add to that mix?
Mr. Mayor, it should not because this is a commercial district, primarily not the residential district. The residential use is like a secondary use to the building.
So what I was getting at, I guess, sorry, I cut you off a little bit.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Sorry, I was finished, sir.
Okay, sure. In the case a tenant, for whatever reason, would apply, and it's whether it's in consultation with the owner or not, like I said, does that change things, or is it strictly for the commercial piece that is allowable?
I would go strictly commercial because it's a commercial district. So the
Okay.
tenant could apply with the landlord's signature, but we would want to know it's for
Okay.
the business use.
I think
primarily.
you know what I'm getting at here,
Yeah.
because there are businesses like that, right?
Yeah.
So I guess you would be aware of, for the commercial purpose is the focus, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea. Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, any other questions arising? All right, someone prepared to make that motion? Sorry. Yeah, you're right, yeah. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Nope.
Pardon me? Oh, you're not, sorry. Okay, just carried then. All right, thank you. That's right. So anyone prepared to make the third required reading? Counselor Remford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion that council give third reading to bylaw 14-2023 to amend land use bylaw 13-2020 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you. Carried. All right, on to item 6.3, proposed residential tax incentive bylaw, second and third reading. Mr. Tebow.
So we should have Miss Amy Allred in the gallery somewhere. Oh, there she was, hiding behind the post. This was before council previously, and I believe there were some questions, and Amy will be here to address those questions for council.
All right, thank you, Amy. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm here to speak to the residential tax incentive bylaw. This incentive is meant to be applied to all new residential properties in the town, including but not limited to single-family homes, new manufactured homes, multi-unit, anything from duplexes to apartments, mixed-use developments, and the creation of secondary suites. The tax incentive bylaw allows for a 4-year municipal tax exemption upon occupancy, 100% the first year, 75% the second year, 50% the third year, and 25% the fourth and final year. At the last council meeting, it was asked if non-legal secondary suites that convert to legal would be eligible to apply. And at the moment, we don't have any way to track non-legal suites, so we'd have no way to know if someone was building a new one or converting one into a legal suite. And in offering it to converted suites, it may incentivize more owners in town to bring their non-legal suites up to code. The other question that was asked was the estimated impact on tax revenue. Based off of construction values, which is all we have at the moment, in 2023, there's been permits for $2.84 million in residential projects. So the estimated tax on this would be about $30,500. And the good news is, though, that these are new projects that won't affect our current tax base, but will add to it in the future. What other questions can I answer?
All right, thank you, Amy. Counselor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Tebow, have you looked very hard at the non-conforming suites? So now you're saying to us, if they become conforming or legal, that should be a benefit? How can that be if there's an existing non-secondary suite that converts to a legal suite? How does that benefit the intent of the bylaw? So I don't understand that.
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily for the intent of this bylaw, but in general, having people in legal suites versus non-legal suites that aren't conforming would be in the benefit of the community.
Mr. Mayor, follow up?
Counselor Beckering, you bet.
That could well be. But the intent of the bylaw is to create living spaces,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
So I don't understand how that can create living spaces. If there's this living space in place already, and which is non-conforming, and now becomes conforming, the only thing it changes is that they apply for conformity, I guess. That's the word. That is the word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they would have to meet all of the standards, of course, of a legal suite. And to be honest, we would have no way to know when they came in to apply if they already had a non-legal suite or if they were just converting their basement. And it is based off assessment values, so if they already have something there, the assessment value would increase less, so they would have a less tax incentive.
All right, thank you. Counselor Roon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when will this come into effect? Like when's the start date of this tax? Then is it houses that are being built right now, or what is our date?
It would come into effect as soon as the bylaw, the third reading of the bylaw, I believe.
So we're not backdating any projects that are already being built, like they've already got the basements poured?
We could, if you wanted to, like we did with the investment incentive bylaw, offer like the last 2 or 3 years to people who are under construction but not completed yet, which is what we did with the last one, but that would be up to council to decide if you want to start when the reading's done or if you'd like to backdate some that are under construction.
I think we should be specific with a date on this instead, because I think if we do a bylaw like this, it should be as of the final reading and not do any backdating.
Okay.
Because those houses are already in the process of being built. They were building them when they were aware of all this. Or this is just, well,
Yeah.
November 1st start building. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Counselor Sorensen? Okay. I think you kind of simultaneous, but either
Yeah,
way.
thank you. Sorry. We arm wrestled, you lost. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Amy, thank you for looking into this. This is exactly what I think our community needs. It did take me a little bit back that we're letting even just regular homes be put under this bylaw. My intent was to increase multi-use family units and mixed-use developments. So I'm not sure if it's the best for our community to also include family single dwellings in this bylaw. So I was just wondering if there's any additional comments from council members on that.
All right, thank you. Counselor Rufford, you're up first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Going back to kind of what Garth and Joanne are talking about, if it goes from illegal to legal, their property assessment would go up. So they would eventually be paying more property tax down the line.
Yes.
So if there is a $200,000, but they make now a legal suite and it goes up to $240,000, I guess the town looks at getting taxes on that after 5 years, where we would never have got any taxes for that, that upgrade. So it does benefit that way a bit down the line. If they make it legal, it will up their property value.
Right, okay, thank you. Counselor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree totally with Mr. Remford there that if it brings people to conform with their illegal suites, and we will be getting more taxes from them, which makes people not want to make them legal suites because they have to pay more taxes. But I think anything that could help with that, I think it's good. Back to Councilor Sorensen's about the single family dwellings. I think anything that encourages growth in the town to build new residential homes, I think is a plus for the town. The multifamily unit is important, of course, and we're seeing a lot of those come to town. This last couple of months, we've had some more permits applied for that. But I think anything that encourages growth with new houses, I don't care if they're multi-unit or single family, I'm in favor of.
All right, thank you. Counselor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also had a comment about Councillor Sorensen's concern, and I do see where you're going with it. And I think having single family included, it allows for a variety of housing types, because not everybody wants to live in an apartment or a row house, or and I think multifamily developments are still going to be enticing for developers, as I understand them to be more cost effective. You can get more housing for less money if you're building a multifamily versus a single family. And so I think that it will still incentivize and still encourage the building of all types of housing, and that's really what we're trying to do. So I'd be in favor of leaving the single family homes in. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Counselor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment. My concern regarding non-conforming and conforming suites really bugged me until my young friend over there, Councilor Renford, set me straight and said, "You've been thinking more before you speak." Because I think, I had never thought of that particular issue, that after a period of time, of course, if you conform your suite, your assessment goes up, therefore you pay more taxes. So I'm very happy. Thank you very much, Councilor Renford.
Attaboy. All right, thank you. Counselor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also like to add my 2 cents about single-family homes and all types of homes. I think we're in a huge living shortage and housing shortage, and I think any encouragement on that front is a good idea, especially with how things are today. I think that we just need to encourage as much development as we can. I think, you know, that was kind of the solution way back when the country was dealing with this kind of housing problem was build. You need to build. And so I think that that's kind of the solution that we need to look for here. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tebow?
Sorry, my concern was looked after earlier. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And yeah, for Council Sorensen, I also see where you're coming from and don't completely disagree with that idea, but I would echo other councillors' comments that it's probably not a bad idea. It is a good idea to carry on with the single dwelling location as well for an incentive purpose. Councillor Sorensen?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate everyone's comments and thank you for the insight.
Perfect, thank you. All right, any other questions arising? All right, someone prepared to make the first required motion? Councillor Sorensen?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that council receives second reading to bylaw 16-2023 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? Councillor Becker?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does the motion include the incentive for homes that are already in construction or not?
It does not.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to make the second required motion. I move the council gives third reading to bylaw 16-2023 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Councillor Brown?
I think with, when I spoke earlier about a specific date when this program starts, or incentive starts, we could always do a tiered system. If it's building, they don't get the first year exempt, they get the second year because it's already under construction. So that may be a way to make it fairer as well. I think we did look at that on another project and just, you know, stagger it. If it's already under construction, then they've already lost their first year, they go to the next year. I think that would be a fair way to do it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth?
So are you proposing that we deal with it the same way that we did with the commercial tax incentive?
Mr. Mayor, yes.
Sure.
Yes, I think so, because then there'd be, I don't know what the word would be, you know, animosity towards us for people who have already started or have poured their basement and we come out with this tax incentive after they've already started. But I think because they have started, we could skip the first year, they go on to the second stage, and that might be fair, but that's just my thoughts.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Firth?
Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
through to administration, is there any requirement then to amend the motion or to amend the bylaw or?
Mr. Tebow?
Yeah, the on-the-spot question. So Amy, if I get this correct, if we go and pass the third reading, then this is in place now, and one of the conditions is this comes into effect at the time of development permit. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we would deal with anything just as we did with the commercial incentive bylaw separately from that. So I don't think it needs an adjustment to this motion.
Yes, with the investment incentive, we did the bylaw and then we did a separate motion for those ones.
Yeah, just to clarify, I think, going from memory, I think, would it not be, like I think you're suggesting the same, just to do that at a later date to cover that similar scenario that we did with the commercial?
That's correct. That's what I was saying, yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Yeah, our recollections are the same, so that's good.
Of course, yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, item 6.4, proposed fee bylaw 19-2023. Mr. Tebow.
Mr. Orwa typically leads our fee bylaw adjustments. Keep in mind that fee bylaw touches every department, so if there is questions that council had that were outside of what Mr. Orwa presents, people are here to answer those questions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Orwa.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, good afternoon. Before you here is the proposed fee bylaw 19-2023, and this is a very heavy bylaw, as Mr. Mr. Thibault has mentioned, because it has a lot of impact on our future budget, that is 2024, because that's where we'll be seeing the fees flowing through. Now, this particular bylaw looking at comparing with 2023, there are some specific areas. You can see the 4 areas, that is Schedule A, E, G, and J, that you'll see some changes. Now, those particular changes, I think my colleagues are here to explain each and every area because they made some changes there. And I think without wasting time, we'll just start with Schedule A, which is recreation services. And I'm not sure whether it's Corey or Mr. Mike. Now, again, just before you present, I think there is one area that you had requested a change, but didn't make it on time. So you'll explain that one as well. So maybe just go to the schedule and bring Schedule A. And I've highlighted where the changes are, and Ms. Ostrap will walk us through.
All right, thank you. Ms. Ostrap, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's been a while.
Has been.
So the fee bylaw, there's lots of changes for recreation. Our fee bylaw as a whole hasn't been touched since 2019, pre-COVID, except for the fields, the sports fields that seen an increase last year. So these fees were reviewed with the members of the Recreation Board who were present on October 5th, but no motion was made as they didn't have enough people for that meeting to make a motion. So we have about 5% increase for aquatic drop-ins, lessons and advanced courses, aquatic programming. 5% is what it is, yeah. Meeting room rentals, arena rentals, and park rentals like the stage, gazebos, bleachers. 3% increase for aquatic rentals, aquatic passes, and auditorium rates. Flat increase is for the following: private lessons, extra lifeguards for the rentals, summer games, Cornfest Fun Run, Halloween posters, memorial trees, and memorial benches. And these are just increases due to the products. Everything is going up in our world, wage increases for lifeguards, that kind of stuff, that we just came up with a flat rate. New rates is a picnic table for the memorial bench and tree program. We've had a lot of requests for picnic tables around town instead of the benches. And then we are also looking at adding a stat rental fee, tons of stat rentals at the pool. When you're opening up, you're paying your lifeguards a different rate, so we were looking at adding that in there. And then the zero increase, which would be the non-highlighted ones, which are advanced courses. We deleted a couple things like the auditorium, kitchen-only booking, auditorium party package, and the summer programs. Community drop-ins, parking lots, and arena drop-ins all stay the same at that $2. And then the sports fields, because we touched that last year, we didn't want to increase it as well. Veteran banner stayed the same, farmers markets, regular programming, RV parking, equipment, personnel, and then deposits. Those all stayed the same across the board as well. We did do some fee comparisons across the board too for recreation. Brooks, Airdrie, Leduc, High River, Blackfelds, and we were actually quite low in recreation. We're definitely still at a reasonable cost across the board. So we think that we're sitting okay, but I'm open to any kind of questions.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, Corey. What stat is that? Are you talking the statutory holiday?
The statutory holiday,
okay, okay.
sorry, yes.
Thank you, thanks. Yep.
We're a hot commodity on those days.
All right. Yeah, you would be. All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would you say that we're back to pre-COVID numbers and that, you know, our attendance and the use of our facilities is very well used?
Yeah, we're hopping over there. It's
Okay.
great to see. Lessons, as I'm sure you're all aware, they book up at like 7:02. So it's a great thing, and we try to get as many lessons in as we can. Right now with hockey and all of that, football, open swim, that kind of stuff, we can kind of see our ups and downs. But yeah, a lot of people are coming out. It's a healthy activity, and it's reasonably priced too. So.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right. None. All right. Someone prepared to make that first motion? Pardon me? Yeah, that's right. Okay, just the first and only motion required for today.
I think the second one would be utilities.
Oh, all right, sorry, just, all right. All right, thank you, Mr. Rowe. Go ahead. Go right ahead. Yeah, just, I guess that that's just the start of this. So, okay, you go right ahead with the rest of your presentation.
Now, once recreation is over, the next item is utilities. And utilities, Mr. Egan, you want to join me or I just proceed? Okay, thank you. Now, the reason why I called him is to be very fair for Mr. Egan as well, because when we developed this model, it was way before his time. And for utilities, we are just following the council direction on our 5-year model, where each year we add small increments over 5 years to see what that would look like in 5 years, so that we make utilities giving us positive numbers at the end of the year. Now, I think just take me to the model. Maybe it will make sense as a reminder. So this is the model that I'm talking about that we've used over time. If I might just take control there. So if you look at this model, I think when we developed this, we agreed on some percentages that was passed by council. So what we are doing is each and every year, we just keep on adding those numbers. Now, just to remind council again, if you look at just this middle number, moving around this middle number, we said water remains the same. So we didn't touch water still. That's why you see there's no increase in water, because at least we are seeing some positive numbers underwater. Now, if you go to wastewater, stormwater, all those areas, just a good example is if you look at residential fixed, we were increasing by $3.36. Now, the subsequent years, it will go to $3.42. Then again, in 2026, it will go to $3.49. So we are just using that model that was passed by council, and we're just plugging the numbers as we move along. Now, how would that look like in terms of the residents' actual billing? I've given some examples at the bottom there as well. And in this case, I was just taking random numbers. Like if you take, for example, a single senior person, 7 cubic meters, what would that look like with the current rates? Then I also looked at a single working person, maybe 14 cubic meters, what would that look like? So all these things, numbers that you see here, are just numbers picked up to reflect. For example, if I look at a single senior home, based on the increases we've seen up here, in 2023, you can see total bill is 113. In 2024, the bill will be around 119. So you see that $6 increase. And those increases are coming from these middle numbers from the model that was approved by council then. If you look at, for example, another one is wastewater residential variable, we only increased that by 11 cents. And again, in 2024, it will be 11 cents, because that's the way the model was passed. And that continues with all of them at the end. So those particular fees are the ones that we've plugged into our fee bylaw to reflect what the council wanted to see over the years. And I think that is the part I said was done prior to Mr. Egan's taking over that area. And those are the things that we'll be seeing in fee bylaw. So I'll just follow that model in 2025, the same thing, 2026, and then 2027. Then at that point, we'll see whether these particular areas will be self-reliant without being subsidized by other areas. So that is where we have our fee bylaw, unless maybe there's anything from the operation standpoint that you would want to add.
All right, Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I just had one clarification question. The wastewater, when you have residential fixed or residential variable, what's determined whether we use one rate versus the other rate?
So we have the fixed rate, that's the flat rate that we have, but then they have the variable rate depending on how much water you use. For example,
Oh, so there's a flat rate,
yeah,
and
then
then
there is the variable rate, and the variable rate will depend on consumption. So what people consume is very different from one household to the other. And you would even see that also on the commercial side, because we have the regular unit flat rate, but of course, people use different cubic meters of water from one place to the other. Look, for example, again, even on the non-residential side, you'll be seeing that flat rate, then you have the variable rate as well. And I think the revenue generated from this area, again, will vary from year to year depending on the variable consumption area.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Roy, on that? All right.
Now,
Mr.
sorry,
Roy?
if
Sure.
there's no question, then the next segment would be the cemetery, and I call upon Mr. Vanham to handle that area.
All right, thank you. Ms. Van Ham?
Through Mayor Prokop to Council, so there's an increase just on the open closed traditional burial. The previous amount was $635, so it's less than a 1% increase. And when you calculated GST, it ended up as a number in the cemetery that we just wanted to change because it was $666.75. So we just wanted to take this opportunity to bring that proposal in front of council. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions, arise? All right, thank you. Mr. Roy?
Now, with that, again, the next one is Schedule J. If you can move us to Schedule J, and I think the chief is here to, and I think he had a minor change there.
All right, thank you. Chief Munshop?
Thank you, Mr. Roa, Mayor, Council. Mine is very, very clean. It's a wording question, basically. We wanted to combine two areas into one, and when we did our last audit through the quality management plan, that was one of the questions that came up. So we did that change. There's no financial change at all. It's just wording.
All right. I know Councilor Beckering likes that. All right. We all do, actually. Thank you. Mr. Roa?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. With that, for this particular area, we just, administration is looking for only the first reading of this bylaw. And from here, we are going to plug some of these numbers in our budget so that we can see how it looks, and we'll be explaining more, especially when we are presenting out the budget. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Councilor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Prepared to make a motion.
Very well.
Oh, maybe somebody else better do it. I lost my thing here. No.
It's all right. It's on the, oh, yeah, it's on the board there. No. I think Councilor First got it there for you if you don't have it. I think.
I'll move that council gives first reading to fee bylaw 19-2023.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Councilor Beckering? Or did that just click on?
Discussion?
Oh,
Discussion? Mr.
sure,
Mayor? Yeah.
sure.
I just want to clarify to council, just because I made a motion doesn't mean I agree with it.
That's correct. That can happen. All right, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, on to item 6.5, corrections for bylaw 17-2023, traffic control. Mr. Tebow.
So this came in front of council last time, and it was noticed by administration that we had left a repeal number of the previous bylaw in this one. So we're asking to back up the previous resolution, or rescind the previous resolution, and then do a rereading of the third and final reading to correct that bylaw error. So it's administrivia, but it is a bylaw, so it had to come back.
All right, thank you. Councilor Sorensen.
I'd just be prepared to make a motion, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilor. Okay,
Oh, sorry.
I'll just make sure, Councilor Brown, you're okay? Okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that council rescinds resolution 287 slash 2023, which states moved by Councillor McLean that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 17-2023 at this meeting, carried unanimously.
All right, thank you.
Right? I just have to do the first one. Okay.
Right, okay, there we go. So just, yeah, that's right. So that was, bonus points for that one. All right, so motion on the table. Councilor Broom, any question?
No, I'll make the next.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimous, thank you. All right, Councilor Broom.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 17-2023 as amended to indicate the repeal of bylaw 22-2021 rather than bylaw 4-2021.
All right, thank you. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I have some questions about, am I allowed to ask some questions about this bylaw?
Absolutely.
Great. I just have some clarification questions. Section 13.8, it says that the CAO is authorized to designate vehicle speeds on any highway or portion of a highway. And I was just wondering if that's true or not. Because when our speed through the highway increased from 50 to 60, I don't think we decided that or have any jurisdiction over that. So I'm curious as to why it's in the bylaw.
All right, good question, Mr. Tebow.
I'd like to thank you for that question, but I'm not going to. I don't know that I've ever employed that, to my knowledge. So being that it's in the bylaw, I suspect I have some kind of authorization, but I really couldn't speak to a permanent adjustment. Is it a temporary adjustment? I'm not familiar enough with that to know.
All
So
right.
I can't really answer, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Councilor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It might help, Councilor McLean, if I say to you that a highway is not necessarily a highway. I mean, that's how it says in the bylaw, highway. Just to clarify, Highway 3 and 36 are controlled by provincial, so they set the rate.
Right.
We can implore them not to, or yes, or increase, decrease, whatever, but they make the final decision.
Right.
Any highway in town, which is not really a highway, can be controlled by the CAO.
Okay.
Yeah, like I say, other roadways, to clarify, are considered a highway under the definition as well as the actual highways. But I think also I can add for clarification, Mr. Tebow, that falls under the traffic committee requirement for any changes within the town boundaries, and that in the end has to come to council for any changes. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, that's
Steve?
correct. I mean, we were talking about different speeds for the downtown at one point in time through the
Right.
traffic committee that
Right.
would have to come to council because it's a speed control device.
Yeah, so I think that's a good catch by Councilor McLean, and that's probably something that shouldn't be in there. If I'm understanding that correctly, it doesn't seem to be currently accurate compared to what we now do with the traffic committee, with that information coming for council's approval. Councilor McLean?
Okay, thank you. I have a few more questions about this bylaw. 13.23, it says the CAO is hereby authorized to appoint one or more bylaw enforcement officers. Does that come through us or does that not go through the police chief?
So this bylaw requires an update in that area because bylaw enforcement used to fall under, I think a long time ago, but bylaw enforcement has been with the police service with TPS for quite some time now. And they're actually, I don't know that they use that same terminology, bylaw enforcement officers. But I don't appoint any of those any longer.
All right, thank you. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 19, sorry, I did go through this bylaw. As you can tell, I do read. Okay, I had a question about 19.7. The school bus between the intersections of 54th Avenue and 56th Avenue on 54th Street, when those lights are flashing, you are not allowed to drive. So I'm wondering, because that is a road, and you drive by any other school on a road, why do those lights have to be flashing all day long? Can they not just be flashing when the buses are coming in? Like, a few minutes, like however long you want before and after, so that there is no traffic there, because I know that there's a ton of buses that come through that circle in between Central and Myers. But when they're not there, do those lights need to be flashing? Because you cannot drive through those or through that road when those lights are flashing, and they're flashing all day long. So I'm just curious.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tebow.
So I'm not going to be able to answer that straight away, but administration can take it away and come back with an answer to that.
All right, thank you. Fair question. Fair answer. All right, any other questions, comments? Councilor McLean?
Yeah, and the next one, 19.8, no persons shall play any games on a roadway or alley or highway. I understand the alley or highways and stuff, but even roadways. So nobody's allowed to play street hockey?
Again, I'll have to take that away. I don't know the answer to that this minute.
Yeah, and I can speak from my background in the law enforcement world that that's technically it's still on the books. Rarely enforce it unless we had some serious complaints of some form of abuse with it. Other than that, happy to see kids having fun on a quiet street playing hockey as opposed to doing something else that may not be so desirable. All right, anything else, Councilor McLean?
Nope, that was it.
Okay, perfect. We do have a motion on the table. Councilor Broom?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, but with all these changes that we're making here, are we still passing this bylaw until it's amended?
We could certainly bring the bylaw back. It's up to council's discretion if you'd like to go through those, and we could wait and
Well,
not do that
Just to
reading.
clarify, with the protocol format, Councilor Broom, you do have that motion on the table. If you would like to rescind that, we certainly can do that and table this, I believe, is optional, but I don't know that it changed anything other than having administration look into this, as has already been indicated with the
Like
points that have been raised.
Perhaps updated, because if the CO is not authorized to do this
Right.
anymore, we're saying that he can by passing this bylaw.
Well,
We're authorizing the CAO to approve any highway or part of highway,
Yeah.
we're giving him permission, are we not, by passing this bylaw?
as I said, to me, it's there is a motion on the table that's viable and accurate. The rest has already come up that administration could look into, I believe. I don't think there's any issue with that. They will follow through. But it's your option that you're the one.
I don't
With the
see
motion.
why we'd pass a bylaw if we're gonna change a bunch of stuff on it, so
Yeah,
to me,
no,
it seems like pointless.
For sure, you can certainly rescind that if you like, but Councilor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a statement, like last meeting, I made a motion to for administration to look at Schedule A, even though we passed the bylaw. And then they came back or they'll come
Right.
back in a future meeting.
Right.
Maybe you were virtual.
I guess rescind is not the right word in this case. Councilor Brent would be just to withdraw if you so choose. Councilor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We can go about this all night, but let's just withdraw the motion, Councilor Bruin, if you would, and refer it to a meeting in the future, either next meeting or the meeting after that, for administration's input regarding clarity of the bylaw. I don't think we should be passing a bylaw and then ask administration to have a look at it to change it again.
Yeah,
That
okay,
wouldn't be proper, I think.
fair enough. All right, Councilor Broom?
I'm not sure I missed the first part you said there.
Just withdraw, Councilor Bruin, just withdraw your motion and refer to a meeting, either next meeting or the meeting after that.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I make the motion that I withdraw my motion and direct council administration to look at that at a future meeting.
Okay, I don't know that that's quite enough. Mr. Tebow, need a little bit more clarification information there?
I think administration gets the gist of it, but you'd like to withdraw, if I understand correctly.
Motion
Withdraw
withdrawn.
the motion
Yep.
and make a new motion suggesting that administration come back with potential bylaw amendments at a future meeting.
That's exactly what I meant.
You like that wording? Better, okay, okay. All right, okay, so you're good with that
Yes.
reiteration? Okay, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Pardon me? Oh, great, yes, yeah. All right, item 6.6, proposed fire bylaw 18-2023, Mr. Tebow.
Fire Chief Munchall will come up and speak to this. Again, just a reminder, this was in front of the Emergency Management Committee, and any input from there would be welcome.
All right, thank you, Chief Munshaw.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So I'm in front of you today to talk about the fire bylaw. The fire bylaw is in front of you. It hasn't been open since 2016, and we've had some amendments as we went through just a meeting with Mr. Cuff last week. It was identified some areas that need to go into policy, and that's exactly what we did within this bylaw. We moved some areas to policy that'll come to you in a few minutes later. The main change, though, within this bylaw would be the fire pits. Fire pits on the old bylaw was very small, it was 700 millimeters. Could just imagine cooking a steak on some about this size. This is being changed in this bylaw in the proper size. So you can have a nice size, about a 3-foot fire pit in your backyard, properly screened and fenced, and makes that amendment. Everything else is being moved out into a policy, which we'll talk about in a bit. And I'm here to open any questions, as well as the Emergency Management Committee is there, I'm sure, to answer any questions that's been in front of them.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Right, Councillor Renford.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question more is for Mr. Tebow. If we pull a bylaw away and then don't do the policy, would we just go back to the bylaw? Like, we're kind of pulling stuff out of this, and then we're going to put it into a policy. I just want some clarification on, just so I know what I'm doing.
Right, so the pieces that we've pulled out of the bylaw are coming up immediately next, being a level of service policy and the compensation policy. So these two policies, items 7.1 and 7.2, in the next section of our agenda, take care of what's leaving the bylaw. So it's all happening tonight.
But if the policy if we just decided not to do that policy, it would go back to the bylaw?
No, you would be taking this bylaw as it sits with that policy piece not in there, if that's what was in front of you.
Yeah, just, thanks.
All right. Any other questions arising? Right, someone prepared to make the first required motion, Councillor Brown.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that council gives first reading to fire bylaw 18-2023 at this meeting.
Thank you, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimous, thank you. Someone prepared to do the second required motion. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives second reading to fire bylaw 18-2023 at this meeting.
Thank you, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Someone prepared to make the third required motion. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council unanimously agrees to proceed with third and final reading of fire bylaw 18-2028, 23 at this meeting.
Yeah, that's good catch. All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Someone prepared to make the fourth required motion. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that council receives third and final reading to fire bylaw 18-2023 at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth. All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to make council aware that Emergency Management Committee did meet and discuss this extensively, I believe, and I think it makes so much sense to go and separate the two items from bylaw to policy, because it makes the policies way more flexible. And I know it's coming up next, but I just want to clarify that this makes a whole lot of sense, Mr. Mayor. And
absolutely, yeah.
We're going to address the paid on call next, right? Thank you.
Right, thank you. And yes, I would agree and echo that same sentiment that Chief Munshaw explained that very well. There's a need and has not been looked into for several years, I believe. So we're due, and it's makes perfect sense and made it user friendly for us on the committee as well to deal with that going further. So, all right. So motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to action items, item 7.1, paid on call firefighter compensation. Mr. Tebow.
As discussed, this was broken up from the bylaw, and we'll have Mr. Munshaw come up and speak to this again.
All right, thank you. Chief Munshaw.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you can see, this was the first item that we were able to pull from the bylaw and move into a policy. This is reflectively placed into a policy to identify what council's portion would be to build the second piece, which would be a procedure moving forward. That procedure will be the impact within the operational budget which we'll be moving forward in very shortly, which we can talk about more in depth when it goes into closed session on wages and dollars for wages. So by even passing this policy, you will be identifying that you are looking at it differently, and even if you wanted to, we'd be staying with the existing wages moving forward if that was the choice of council. But we'd have to go to the next portion, which would be the operational budget, in order to look at the policy or the wages completely. So hopefully that would answer the questions prior.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when it says in 2.3, administration shall establish procedures for this policy, so they will be coming?
Yeah, so procedure is dealt with through the CAO, and that CAO then signs off on that process. What I'd be coming back to council with is the operational bylaw, and you would be a operational budget, and you'd be agreeing to those wages that would be shown forth.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my understanding that most of the firefighters are volunteer-based. So how would this change from being getting an honorarium, I believe, per year?
Thank you, through Mayor Prokop. The currently our firefighters are all paid on call at this point in time. They are paid for a call that they go on, the training that they do, and by an hourly wage. There is no honorariums that we actually have dealt with many, many years.
Oh, geez, I'm old.
Yeah. So there's only 3 people that are paid in the fire service. That would be the 2 assistant chiefs, myself. Everybody else is a paid on-call member, and those members carry a pager and respond to calls as they occur and come to practices once per week. Okay. And this new procedure would come into more account with their dollar factor and reflect wages.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a really good discussion about this, the Emergency Management Committee, and remind council and Tabor, people at Tabor, how lucky we are to have the volunteers that we have. And we would not have to, we certainly do not want to have to hire a full-time fire department in this town. It would really cost us a lot. So I'm very thankful for the volunteers we have, and the pittance that we do pay them, I think, is well earned. And with that, I'm prepared to make the motion that council approves the fire department paid on call firefighters compensation policy. Pros Fire 3 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you, Chief. All right, on to item 7.2, level of service policy, Pros Fire -4. Mr. Tebow.
Again, this existed in the bylaw in some fashion before, I believe, and is coming forward as a level of service policy. So I think administration is actually trying to lean towards a few level of service policies and eventually create ourselves a level of service document that council can review. But at this point, they're coming forward as individual policies. Chief.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Chief Munshaw. Under insurance grading, item 5.1, it says the town shall maintain a minimum grading classification of a dwelling protection grade, DPG 3A, and public protection classification, PFPC 5. Can you explain what that means?
Of course. Of course. So the town has an insurance grade, as we talked about just a little while ago in the capital budget and vehicles where we sit. So what that means is that you're basically where you're at today, we will do our very best to maintain where we're at today for an insurance-based process. So anybody coming into the community, they can look internet and see where our insurance ratings are and where our qualifications is, and this is exactly what we will try to, as council, maintain. Any other wording, whether it be better or worse, we would change that DPG rating, which is a dwelling protection rating. So there's both 2 different ratings. One is for residential, and that gives you a 1 through 5 rating. And then there's business, gives you a 1 through 10 rating. And as you can see, we are a 3A, which means we have a paid on call or even a full-time fire department in that rating that are trained and will respond into the community. The only way to get better than that is, and I have gone down this path, would be to bring on full-time firefighters, full-time response, and get a very short window for time response within our community. Costs money, and within our staffing requirements we have, that's about as best as we're going to possibly be able to do. A 5 in our business section is very good. It's middle of the road component between 5 and 10, and we are able to achieve that. And when we look at larger industry, we also need water protection, pump capability, hydrant capability. There's a great many things that get a better grade rating and a lot more cost that would come into that. So when we say that we're doing that, we're just saying that we're going to try to maintain where we're at today.
All right, thank you, Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was wondering on 9.4, if you could explain what the different levels of service are, perhaps?
Yes, of course. So all these levels of service that were currently in the old bylaw, we shifted over to the new bylaw. And you'll identify there was a change. There's a big block line that wasn't there, what you see in this particular one, which is awareness operations technician level. And it was identified in the beginning level of the policy that says, what does that mean? When we have a paid on-call service, some of those calls that we go to that are just outside of our parameter, we cannot support, we'd have to bring people in. So we wanted to support council so they had a reassuring level that if we go to a call and somebody was to ask them, hey, were you able to deal with that call? You could say, what is our level? What's our training capability? And at what point were we able to have to call other people in to assist us? And some of those areas vary as the call intensity and the amount of product changes. So a simple car fire can then turn into an industrial fire quickly if it's parked in the wrong spot. We can go to and deal with the car fire, but we may not be able to deal with the industrial fire unless we call in neighboring municipalities and support from extra people.
Thank
Does that
you.
help?
All right, thank you, Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going back to the fire rating or insurance rating. So our ladder truck would have affected our class 5 rating in the commercial as well as the residential fire rating. So that was another key point with the ladder truck, was it not?
Yes, correct, Mayor, to Councillor Bruin. We were a 7 in that rating prior, and then we were able to bring that down to a 4 once the a 5 when that purchased ladder truck came into effect, which did increase and was a cost savings to certain areas within the municipality and the business section. That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I just wanted to comment that I think a level of service policy really makes a lot of sense. And I appreciate that it brings more clarity rather than the way we were doing it before. So I just thank you to administration for bringing this forward. And I am prepared to make a motion.
Very well.
I move that council approves the fire department level of service policy pros-fire-4 as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 7.3, Weed Control Act, Municipal Inspector Appointment, Mr. Thibault.
So if council recalls, there was one of these brought before council previously with a single name. We have 2 more names that have come before us, and this is a requirement of the Weed Act to actually appoint these people's names. So if there was any further questions, we can answer.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, weed control is, it falls under, it does not fall under bylaw, it falls under police. Is that correct?
It falls under policing risk, and the terminology bylaw, I think, is just Chief Abella uses their CSU, a customer service unit, I believe is what it's called. So it does mean a similar thing. Weed control falls under Taber Police Services.
Follow up, Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely.
So we're paying police officers to monitor weeds? Is that correct?
I'll try and explain it best I can, because Chief Abella has explained this to me before. So we have a community standards unit, and they are trained to the level of a police officer, but they are not paid to the level of a police officer. There's a particular pay band that exists in the Taber Police Service that, so through policy, Chief Abella is able to limit what the requirements are, what is in someone's purview to look after. So the weed control is not a full-fledged police officer payment that's taking place looking after weed control. I know we have a couple of members from the commission here with us. If I didn't explain that well enough, please chime in.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and yeah, I was just gonna put my 2 cents in of what I learned sitting on the commission. So there's a weed bylaw that we've put in place. Council has accepted it. And then, if there's any infractions or complaints, it goes to the police department, and these gentlemen then, these constables would then, write or enforce any bylaw infraction that would be taking place on these properties. So they're enforcing our bylaw, is my understanding, if that's correct.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one more follow-up question. So how many constables do we need under the Weed Control Act? I don't know. To me, 3 seems excessive for weed control within our little town, but.
I don't know if there's a numerical requirement. I don't know what history has had in the past, so I take what the chief puts forward to administration. I don't know if there's an actual number. I can't actually answer the question if there's a minimum requirement for 1, 2, 3.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor McLean. So I don't think by appointing them, it says that that's all that these constables will do. I believe that these 2 constables are now members of our Community Standards Unit, also previously known as our bylaw. And it's a requirement of the Weed Control Act, which is a provincial requirement to name a specific person as a weed control inspector. Is that the municipal inspector? So as members come into the police service and they move up to or move out of the Community Standards Unit and into the regular police unit, then we have to reappoint a new person. So these 2 new constables are coming in as the Community Standards Unit officers, and so that's why we have to name them specifically. Because we did just do this not that long ago.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin?
Yeah, it's kind of like you have a licensed mechanic and you have your apprentices underneath them. You need someone to sign off on the Weed Control Act. So I think it's more under that term.
Right, all right. And yeah, basically for Councillor McLean, it's kind of a specialty, if you will. So these individuals appointed are trained accordingly and would know what noxious weeds are, whereas a police officer may not, or may not care to in a lot of cases. But it's just one of those cases where they have a bit more expertise in that regard, and that's why the appointment is necessary. So having 1, 2, or 3 is just, it's a benefit actually for the police service to enhance their enforcement requirements. All right, anything else arising? Councillor Firth?
Nothing else. I'm just prepared to make a motion at this time.
All right, very well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the council appoints Constable Brandon Demers of the Taber Police Service under the Weed Control Act of Alberta as a municipal inspector for the town of Taber to carry out this act and the regulations within the municipality.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to pronounce his name here. I'll make a motion that council appoints Constable Earl Kobe Cabarubias of the Taber Police Service under the Weed Control Act of Alberta as a municipal inspector for the town of Taber to carry out this act and the regulations within the municipality.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Good, thank you. All right, on to item 7.4, response to standing item 197, 2023, shared trail signage. Mr. Thibault.
This particular motion will be explained, I believe, by Mr. Brian Martin. Questions can head his direction. This was in relation to a standing item that Councillor Rudd had prior to his departure.
All right, thank you, Mr. Martin.
Mayor and Council. So with the resolution that Councillor Rudd made, I'm so sorry, with some safety and some language on the signage around town on our trail usage, We have been working with Trail 77 to have these frames. Trail 77 is designing maps and some signage that will go in it. They will have safety language and sharing the trail verbiage in there also. And then we will be placing some Wayfair signs. This is a Lethbridge example, but similar to that with maps of sort of where you are on the trail system with some of the similar language, warn others before passing, share the trail, not designed for high speed, those kind of little slogans that we'll include on them. So we're in the midst of getting the Wayfair signs put in. Trail 77 is building and designing the signs for the large frames.
All right, thank you, Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Mr. Martin. I'm glad to hear that there'll be maps of the trail system, because that's something that I hear from community members is, well, where can I find a map? And I know that there is an online map, but it's nice to have a map available at the trailheads. And I had a question. Will the signs include right-of-way, including horses? Because I know that that's a trial basis, but is that going to be included on the signs as well?
Some of the signs that would be around where the horse trails would cross, intersect, I don't know that they will have signs on that exact location quite at this moment. They were looking at adding little stickers on the signs at the trailheads that were shared use. So they'll have a horse or a horse with a cross through it, or however it's deemed what that trail would be. But that's, at that point, I don't think agreed trails have been made yet.
Absolutely.
So users will be aware of which trails, say somebody from outside of the community is coming in and they're riding their bike or they're running on these trails, they'll be aware that they could possibly encounter a horse and rider on those particular trails?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
However, Trail 77 and the riders, the equestrian group, deemed to mark it on the maps, we'll include the little logos or however.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tebow.
Thank you.
And just further to that, Councillor Firth, there will be some separate signage that has yet to be created because we haven't talked to Trail 77 to find out exactly where they're going to be crossing those paths. So there'll be some general signage on the trailhead signs, but there will be some specific signage once we nail that down with the SATRA group.
All right, and thank you. Just for Mr. Martin, just to clarify, with the map type portion, are there going to be some hard copies available out at the location, Trout Pond area somewhere, or strictly just kind of on the signage?
The large trailhead signs that were in the picture there, the frames, they'll have a large map on them.
Right,
And then
yeah.
the wayfinder signs will be dispersed every kilometer or so around the trail system, especially around Trout Pond with maps, as with you are here and so forth. So
Okay, so.
there won't be paper copies.
I see, yeah,
available.
okay, that might be hard to manage, I guess,
Yeah.
out there, right? So, okay, perfect, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, no motion required for that, thank you, Mr. Martin. All right, on to item 7.5, 23131, 5506 46th Avenue Shopping Center. Mr. Tebow.
So we'll have Mr. Egan and Ms. Newberry come up. Just make a note that under item number 1, I believe we've got an extra word in the recommendation. So under item number 1, it says the site shall be. I think the word is not supposed to be there. So motion, I guess, as amended.
Right, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, we have received a development permit application for 5506 46th Avenue for a shopping center. This use is a building with 3 units. None of the specific units in it have been applied for, so they could be a variety of uses that could go into it. It could be restaurants, it could be retail, it could be something like personal services, hair salons, that sort of thing. A variety of uses could go into these buildings. The fact that there are 2 drive-throughs do indicate that at least 2 of the units will be restaurants, possibly more. We have done some extensive work on these particular applications over the last few months in our department, and with Public Works, Fire, We've had them do a TIA through Alberta Transportation as they're right on the highway, and they would also need permission from Alberta Transportation to have an access onto the highway. We've also had them do a environmental impact assessment for this particular lot. This is the little square lot at the top where the old turbo building is, because that was a gas station. And we have had them do a comprehensive stormwater plan that has been reviewed by engineers and approved by our public engineering department for the whole of the property on this one. We have put forward a recommendation with several conditions. Many of these conditions speak to things that have come up throughout the process. One of them being that we would require a crossing parking agreement for free movement of traffic between the properties, because some of the parking is at the back on a different property. It's all owned by the same landowner. TELUS would like a right-of-way easement on both properties. What else did we look into? I'm trying to think. Fire safety. And this property, we'd be giving them permission to provide 6 parking stalls, with one of those stalls being accessible. And I did do some calculations. So a shopping center needs 1 stall for every 30 square meters. So each side needs 14. So this particular site would only have 6 stalls. The next site has more stalls on it, and they would be shared between them all. They still, by the time they're done, ultimately we'd be about 4 stalls shy for the shopping center parking requirements. There is the ability to provide more parking should you wish to have them do that on the next application as well.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Heard you mention something about a TIA, traffic impact assessment. Was there one done, and what was the result, please?
So there was a TIA completed by the proponents. The 2 major issues that came out of that, the executive summary, is at present there are, in relation going past the side, there's 4,000 trips a day. So this would be a single car either going or coming by that particular site on any of the streets. They've determined that the impact would be about 2,000 trips. So that's people coming to and leaving the site. That would be 2 trips as a result of full development of both this unit and then the next development permit, which is co-located. A portion which is undefined of those trips, because there will be an access to exit out of the site onto Highway 3, a portion of that 2,000 trips will be, anyone going east will exit directly onto Highway 3. Everyone else will exit to the west out of the site and either cross Highway 3 to go west or venture into the neighborhood to the south. The second major component of the executive summary is that Alberta Transportation is recommending no signals or changes at present until the site is fully developed and we can do further assessments. So they're looking 10 years down the road that they'll want us to do something in the area to control traffic. And that's similar to the service road at the east end of this service road, the impact there. So the town will be, we have in this year's operating budget that will be coming to council in November, monies to do an area structure plan, which will involve this section of the town, and we'll try and resolve some issues with this service road, Barton Drive, some other traffic and roadway issues that we have in the area.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beckering.
Mayor, by me as a follow-up. So the TIA was done on 55th Street. Or was it done on Highway 3?
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Beckering, the TIA was done for Alberta Transportation, so it specifically looks at Highway 3, but it does take into account all the traffic in the area. Now, not everyone that comes into this is going to exit out and go south, obviously, and the majority of the people will head north. And they are, when we look at the drawings, you can see that they have put in for an additional access on the east side, they would allow many of the people to go out that way as well, so that we're not funneling so many people down and around.
All right, thank you. All right, any other questions arising? Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So on this drawing where we have the two drive-throughs, they didn't see any issue of traffic back up onto 55th Street. If, you know, if those get cluttered, then that's kind of where the traffic is going to get backed up onto and clog the street. Is there any concerns with that?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor McLean, no concerns were really raised directly in the TIA. And it is expected that at times there could be backup, as with any drive-through, the McDonald's drive-through, the Tim Hortons drive-through, any of their drive-throughs in town, if you get a busy period and a lot of people lining up. Generally, that's not the everyday, all-day of it. And I would expect that upon an initial opening, like when Wendy's first opened, there was a couple of weeks where it was a little worse than not because everybody was going to check it out. And that's just part of development and an expectation that during those first couple of weeks when everybody's excited to go check it out, that it'll be a little busier and that eventually after a week or two, usually it calms down.
All right, thank you. Councilor Bruin?
Yes, thank you. On that drawing you're showing there now, there's additional parking to the south there, I believe. Is that, so they have got the parking there yet? And you did say they may provide more parking if we required it?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bruin. So I have given you some a recommendation with a bunch of amendments, and you can always make an amendment to that. You could always require they provide more parking. You could always, they are looking to possibly do a further development on the south portion of the property in the future. But that again would be a discretionary use. It would come to council again, and you could, you'll be able to base it on what you know at that time. So you could see how this parking works, and if it doesn't work, you could ask for more at that time. You could, there's a number of things you can do.
If I may continue. On 55th Street there, would there be room to put a turning lane coming from the south to go in there? Or something that we could somehow, if there is a lot of traffic, they'd have a place to wait? Or I'm just trying to address some of the gentleman's concerns that he brought up. The prevailing westerly wind, I don't think garbage is going to be an issue on the east side of the building, but they're going to have to deal with it maybe further down. I understand the gentleman's concerned about the traffic and that, and anything we can do to appease that would be nice. I'd like to see this development happen because it's more growth for the town, and you know, it's the price we pay for developing this small town that we're going to soon be big.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bruin. There is quite a lot of boulevard there. And in fact, they initially wanted to put parking in there, but because it's not on their property, we didn't allow for that. We wouldn't allow them to bring that forward. So we could, in theory, develop a lane, but because they do have another lane of traffic going there, it just would not work. It wouldn't meet TAC requirements, traffic and access. Chris will know what the acronym stands for. So I don't think adding an extra lane in there would be advisable at this time.
Sure.
Yep. Looking at the, I will call it the second drive-in, they have quite a long driveway there, which is nice to see that. It all depends how successful this business is and what's in there really to determine what traffic's there. I'm really afraid that we're going to have to put a set of lights on the highway, which is something we really want to avoid because the more lights we have on that highway, the more chance we have of the highway going around Tabor at this time. It's not going to happen for a long time, but the more lights we put up there, the more complaints we get about having to stop. But I'd be in favor of this, but definitely note the gentleman's concerns with what he brought up.
Yes, and so the possibility of a traffic light is something that was brought up with the traffic impact assessment, and that was a 10-year out. There is no guarantee that that will be required in 10 years. There's no guarantee it won't be. So it's kind of like a forecast. It's kind of like when we forecast snow, and sometimes we get it and sometimes we don't. So it's it's a look into the future that says, yeah, based on these parameters and all of these things, we can foresee this being a thing, but we don't know that those parameters won't change between now and then too.
What we do know is that the current predictable trips that the traffic engineering and normal standards, engineering standards, do not require us to put any signals in at this point in time.
I think with 4,000 extra vehicles a day, they'd be doing very, very, very well. And I don't think that's really going to happen for a long time.
No, and so they talk in, there's 4,000 trips.
Yes, sorry,
At this present point. There are 2,000 predicted new trips which would be 1,000 vehicles a day.
Maybe a thriving business to reach that, which I hope they are, I suppose.
Right.
All right, thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I am concerned about parking, and like you have 3 business units, 2 restaurants, 6 parking stalls out front in the one building. And with this design or plan, you can't really add any more there other than just making people walk for parking. And, you know, no one likes to walk very far for parking. How could we add some more parking if we did request that?
So that would be up to the developer of the site. You can ask for them to comply with the requirements that we have in our parking bylaws to get the right numbers. Where those numbers are, we really don't prescribe that to them. They do, like every other business, they only have a certain frontage where you get the prime parking spots. And then in other developments, there might be 2 drive aisles and then parking across. So having parking in the rear is not as optimal as that, but it's not something that we can prescribe as far as from a planning perspective.
Okay, thank you.
I'll also add to that. They would also need some stalls and stuff for their employees, and most likely the employees would be relegated to parking at the back, and they would want those stalls open for the things. Also, with businesses with drive-through, the trend is going more towards drive-through, less towards dine-in. So those businesses you would expect won't require as many parking stalls out front as well.
Sure.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. I'm just worried about that poor little retail business stuck in the middle of those 2. So I'm sure they're mindful of it, but it is a concern of mine.
All right, just to clarify, are we addressing the gentleman's concerns earlier with anything that was brought up there?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So one of the concerns was garbage. It's really hard to actually address garbage. We have bylaws in place for maintaining your properties and stuff. I know many businesses will put in things. I worked at a business where we had to go with everything within a block and pick up the garbage related to the business. And then we were supposed to pick up other garbage as well, just because they wanted to be a good steward for the community. There's no guarantee these businesses will do that, but that's not something that in a development permit we could really enforce. We have garbage on site. We could request that they put receptacles on site, which, you know, is a benefit to their business because nobody wants to shop in a dirty place. As Councillor Bruin said, the wind does tend to prevail from the west here, so it's actually going to probably blow it towards the east. But the traffic, the idea, we're hoping that by having that extra access that most of the traffic is coming in, around, and up and out, and in, around, and up and out at the bottom, and not so much down through the residential community. This is a commercial district. It is on the highway. So there is some expectation that there will be traffic.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, seeing none, someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Renford?
No. Yes, you do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that council approves development permit DP 23-131 for a shopping center at 5506 46th Avenue, lots 1 to 5, block 21, plan 6390L, with the following 24 conditions, as amended.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 7.6, 23-132, 5508 46th Avenue Shopping Center. Mr. Tebow.
So this is going to be very similar to the last discussion, just a separate parcel of land directly behind the first one we were talking about.
All right, thank you. Anything to add with that, Selena?
Mr. Mayor, just the same amendment will be required for this one as the last one because I have is shall be again. So this is adjacent to our previous permit application. This one is on 5508 46th Avenue. This site, I believe, used to be the water station for the town at one time. This site did not have a gas station on, so we did not have to do the environmental impact assessment on it. They will be doing slab on grade on this as well, though. We do have a number of similar requirements to the previous one because even there are two separate parcels. So we did two separate permits, but it's one landowner and it was kind of developed cohesively. So again, we put in a requirement that they have to have a crossings parking agreement between the two properties so that if they do sell one off to somebody in the future, they can't block access to the next person. And then we also put in that they shall enter into a crossings agreement and a new utility right-of-way agreement with the town of Tabor with regards to the services that are currently covered under, and then I've listed the instrument number on the title to better reflect changes that have occurred and will occur. So we would like the crossing agreement because they'll be building the drive-through lane over our existing sanitary line, which is fine, but we want to make sure we capture that if we have to dig that up at some point in the future, we're not going to be paying for any loss of business or anything like that. So we'll ensure that's captured in that agreement. And there is a registered utility right-of-way for it on title, but there used to be a lane there and it was closed and it refers to it as the lane and it's really confusing. So we'd like to clean that up and make it much less confusing for going forward in the future.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the one in the picture to the right with the longer drive-through. Is there any way that we can have them move that driveway or drive-through lane access? Because I feel like with them both facing that direction, you're going to force a lot of traffic into that one area where everybody then has to come from that direction. And so I feel like you're going to clog that one area. I just wonder if we can have the other one where it's not so much of a, like, open up the access a little bit at the bottom. So then then you can come from both directions. So then you're not clogging up that one side so much.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor McLean, if I may, I think you're saying suggesting moving instead of having both come in off 55th Street, moving one to the other side, or down to the bottom,
or just having it more open at the bottom. So that you can access it from both, not necessarily directing it so much as like, oh, you have to enter it from that side, because then you're really blocking 55th Street a lot. If they're both lining up that direction, I'm just wondering, then you're going to force all the traffic to enter on 55th in a sense. If the other one, I don't know, they can, I guess, both be accessed from both directions, but I just feel like having it set up this way, you're almost like telling people you have to enter this way. But maybe it'll look different once it's built.
So, Mr. Mayor, Councillor McLean, I think I see your point. I don't know that they could really drastically redesign it at this point to meet their stacking requirements. So that's what they call it. So however many cars they can get in. So you notice one was quite a bit longer. Yeah. Whatever business they have that might want to go in there probably wants a longer stacking requirement, and the other one's shorter, so they probably don't need as long of a stacking requirement. Ideally, we would prefer people are coming off the highway and turning in, right, rather than driving down past all the houses. So where it's at right now kind of helps mitigate that traffic to the south.
All right, thank you. Any other questions related? Right? See none, someone prepared to make a motion? Counselor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make the following motion that council approves development permit DP 23-132 for a shopping center at 5508 46th Avenue, lots 23, block 21, plan 141-0557 with the following 25 conditions as listed below.
All right,
Oh,
thank you.
as amended.
Thank you. Motion on the
Thank you.
table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 7.7, special meeting with council budget presentation. Mr. Orwa?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Now, administration is putting a request, as we've done in the previous years. As you can see, originally we thought we would slot it in this particular day, but you can see the agenda was too heavy, and we wanted a day by which probably council could focus just on budget alone. So administration is just requesting a special meeting of council to deliberate the 2024 to 2027 budget. And originally from what you have before you, we had proposed October the 26th, but I think after due consultation with the admin team, we realized that it was too close. That is, you have one today, and then in 3 days, again, council is requested to come back. So we are requesting a special council meeting November the 7th, after checking with the admin services to make sure that the council is also not involved in other committee meetings. So November the 7th has been proposed. So I'll just leave it for council for discussion if that can work.
Right. Thank you, Councilor Bruin.
I will not be able to attend November 7th. I am away till the 11th.
Councilor Sorensen?
Do you have a, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Orwa, do you have a proposed time planned?
Not yet, but that one I left for council to propose because I'm not sure people will be involved during the day. So the time that works for council is what we'll work with, administration will work with.
All right, thank you. Councilor McLean?
Just wondering if it can't be tacked on to a council meeting. I know that makes for a long meeting, but I'm just, like, you're already planning to be here, so I'm just wondering if you can if we can tack it on or not.
All right, thank you. Councilor Becker?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regarding Councilor McLean's request, the budget process is a lengthy process, and it's the most important document that this council can discuss and decide. So I've always been in favor on the budget meeting on its own. So whatever date that is fine with me, but Councilor McLean, it's a big deal. So that's my opinion.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tebow?
I was just going to offer that administration would entertain whatever council requests, but to Councillor Beckering's point, we are choosing a different day because we have tried that in the past, and it's it doesn't garnish as much attention and discussion as administration thinks it could or should. So, but we're open to whatever council decides.
All right, thank you. Councilor Broom?
I believe our next meeting in November is the 13th. So 13th is a holiday, is it? Or Remembrance Day stat holiday.
Yeah.
So we'll have a meeting on the 14th for the council, I would believe, then.
Right.
I would really like to attend this meeting, but I'm out of the country till the 11th.
From what date? Councilor Broom?
From the 25th to the 11th.
25th, okay.
October 25th to November 11th. Yes. No. Well, you guys scared me.
Is that, Councilor Bruin, Is it doable virtually for you?
I cannot guarantee I'll have internet access.
Okay.
Would the 15th be too late? November 15th, is that getting too late, John?
Well, that might not be too late, but it will just be a day after regular council meeting, so.
That would be all rested up.
Well, I'll just leave that one for council members to.
That's not important. Please, Commissioner, maybe you should hold off on that meeting until we do our budget.
Yeah.
16th.
Counselor Sorensen.
Yeah, I'm okay with November 7th, so it's up to the rest of the council, but I would prefer a start date later in the day if possible. Or 4:30. 4:30 would be the earliest I would propose.
All right, we okay with the 7th then for 4:30 suggested start?
I'm against that date. I'd like to see it
Okay.
push up to next week. I think all council should try to be at this.
Well, ideally, for sure. Flexible, good. All right, Counselor Beckman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And, you know, let's settle this. And I agree with Council Bruin, it's a very important meeting. It's the most important meeting that we have for the whole year. Like I said before, I think Council Bruin should be there, and doing it virtually is no good anyway. I suggest the 15th. That's the day after a regular council meeting. I know, but so what?
I think
We're all
that's
we're
the
all-
commission meeting, right?
I don't
Councilor
give a shit about the commission meeting.
No, but, they've already got a meeting,
Yeah, I know.
so,
I know.
or the 16th,
How about the 16th?
16th is good. It's a Wednesday?
Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
Oh, my girlfriend's coming to town. No.
The what? Sorry.
My girlfriend's coming to town.
Oh, yeah, then you better be here. Okay, are we all available for the 16th then? Is that general consensus? Counselor Broom?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we have council approves a special meeting of council to be held on November 16th at 4:30 to discuss 2024 and 2027 operating budget.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. Yeah, actually, I was just gonna ask that question. So we don't have a whole lot left, but we do have a bit of time there. So Councilor Beckett, if you'd like to
Yes, I
make a motion.
that we have a supper break for half an hour, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, thank you. All right, if we reconvene the meeting, please. Moving on to item 7.8, department reports. I will start from the top. If anybody's got any questions, please advise accordingly. First is Recreation and Planning Department report. Economic Development report. CAO report. Finance Department report. Fire Department report. Engineering and Public Works report. Water and wastewater treatment facilities report. Facilities management report. HR department report. Councillor Firth.
Sorry, I had a facilities management question. My fingers are just slow.
All right.
Under enhanced sense of community, it says replace damaged flags as required. I was just curious how often that happens and if it's like a regular occurrence at all our facilities that would fly a flag. Sorry, through Mr. Mayor to administration
All right, Mr. Tebow.
is what I meant.
I believe, I'm guessing a little bit, but I believe this is just as they get weathered. So when the wind tears them apart, we do replacements. And so it's not all of them all the time. It's which ones happen to fall apart. And at a certain point in time, we just replace them before someone complains that there's only half a flag there or something. That's what I
think
believe.
we have a good collection of spare bears, do we not? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead.
With our water treatment plant, are the lagoons finished, dug out? They're all, I haven't driven by there. Everything's on order there and going well.
So this year, the South Lagoon was the one that we dug out. That was completed 2 months ago now. And before the irrigation district closed off the canal, we were able to fill both ponds.
Perfect.
So they're both at capacity.
And how long supply are those two ponds for the town?
So if we go from now, so there's 500,000 cubic meters between the two ponds. Summertime we can run about 12,000 cubic meters a day, but the wintertime we'll do between 4,000 and 6,000 a day. So it's very dependent on what time of the year.
And our pump system's working well, Chin?
We're experiencing growing pains with deploying that pump and our screw pumps to supplement. But we're holding, the important part is we're holding the water level in the two ponds at either 99 or 100% capacity. So we are managing that, and we're sorting out the problems with moving to a temporary system.
So you don't foresee that being a problem for a water shortage?
No. We have contingency plans in place, this being the first level of contingency planning. But we've already seen, you won't see it on this month's department report, but next month you'll see that we're using about 4,500 cubic meters of water right now because of the temperature and the moisture outside and the lack of sprinklering and irrigation going on. So we're probably going to maintain around that level for the next 120 days until springtime hits. So we're in good shape. Everything else upstream of us is empty.
Yeah.
So Chin is down, many meters.
Yeah, it's below our pumps now, our big existing pumps, right?
It's 3.5 to 4 meters below.
It's that low.
Yeah, and there's nothing upstream that, in the 2017, there were still reservoirs were full upstream, and they were able to move that water down to us.
Yeah.
There's nothing up above.
Pray for snow this winter.
Yes, we need a heavy snowpack.
Yeah. And our ditch in the back is full behind the town there on the south side?
The Horvath Ditch project's complete, with the exception of a little bit of rototilling and smoothing, and then some seeding. And that'll put it back into condition for him.
Thank you. Councillor Sorensen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and sorry, Mr. Egan, well, since you're up there. I see that the Clean Energy Improvement Program, we were accepted for our application. And so preparing full application submission, is that we have to do another submission of application, or are you compiling a system for residents then to apply for the program?
So residents now make their own applications. The town portion is for part of the funding related to it. But as I understand it, none of those applications come through the town. Is that your understanding, Mr. Tebow?
That is my understanding. I believe something goes through the province. We just had to commit to a portion of that funding.
And so if I may continue,
Sure.
how would we be able to let residents know now that we're a part of this program and they can participate in it?
So I think we'll create a communication of sorts. It was just recently approved.
Okay.
And so I think in the next short while we'll produce administration will produce something to put on the website and whatever our communications specialists recommend for attracting attention and disseminating that information to the community.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Back to you, sir. Have we planned which sidewalks we're replacing for next year?
So we have an ongoing program, a replacement program, where we will start on a new assessment program to verify the conditions, which that generally, so yes, 80 to 90% of it will be typically is fixed. We already know what we're trying to do.
Okay, I had a concern raised to me that the sidewalk in front of the old Automart, Bonnie's Vision, and there, it's really heaving quite bad, actually. So I didn't know, if I said I'd ask to see if that was on the list for replacement.
It's certainly, we can review it, and then if it sort of rises to the level of the equally bad sidewalks around town, we have a far larger program than we actually tackle each year.
You rate the worst, do the worst first.
Yeah, so it's a triage process, just like the asphalt.
There's quite a heaving going on there, and in the wintertime it gets quite bad there.
Yeah, we do.
Complain about tripping.
We do. So frost heaving is a different issue to just sidewalk replacement, because although it's an issue in the wintertime, it's temporary. In the springtime, it often just goes away, and the sidewalks return to their. So it's more of an issue of the substrate and the moisture in the ground underneath the sidewalk.
Yeah, so if it is an issue springtime after the frost has left, then we can, do they call Public Works to?
Absolutely, anyone can make a call into either through the website and draw our attention to something. We do every year go and reassess and reevaluate the conditions to make sure we're doing the worst case situation. So we'd be happy to.
Yeah, no, I watched a lady the other day with a wheelchair trying to get into the eye doctor there, and the cracks are fairly big already. Yeah. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to Administrative Services Report. All right, no other questions, no motion required. Moving on to 7.9, Mayor and Council reports. Councillor Sorensen, we start with you, please.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the Tabor Rec Board and there was not a quorum, so unfortunately we weren't able to we had a great discussion, but that ended there. I helped cook for the seniors monthly luncheon. I attended the Arts and Heritage meeting. And then, they had the library board came and wanted to know if they could actually have a longer lease, term on their lease. So maybe that can be a discussion for a future meeting. And I attended the Tabor Police Commission meeting. So that's it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Redford.
Yeah, I went to that George Cuff. Oh, I keep forgetting that. I went to that George Cuff training on Thursday, Friday. It was lots of fun. So learned lots of stuff. Made me really excited to come here.
Great, you know? Perfect.
And I was looking to fight a department head also.
Now's the time to put that out.
Yeah,
Challenges.
Well, there's lots to choose from, so it's just a matter of getting any takers. All right. Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't too busy this month. Actually, I'm sorry I missed the rec board meeting. I actually came down with COVID And so that took a bit of wind out of my sails for a few days. Did some conversing with Highway 3 board. I sit on the executive there, and everything's moving along well. We're a little disappointed things aren't happening a little quicker, but we are promised that it's going to be going on next year. So,
All right, thank you. COVID confirmed and over and done.
I haven't tested again.
I hope you're right. I'm sitting right beside you. All right, thank you. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended all my regular meetings, including the Police Commission, Taber and District Housing Foundation, Arts and Heritage Committee, and the Taber Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to mention that the Taber Chamber's Business of the Year nominations are open. So if any citizens would like to nominate a Business of the Year recipient, the requirements and application can be found at taberchamber.ca. And then I also attended a Losing a CAO webinar put on by Alberta municipalities, which had some really great information about what to do if you lose a CAO and a good information about how to recruit and to retain CAOs. So don't read anything into that, Mr. Thibeault. It was good. It was good information, and there was actually information from a lot of CAOs, and so it was recorded. So if you'd like to watch it, I can send it to you. Also, I attended the governance session that Councillor Remford mentioned with George Cuff for 2 days. It was really great information. I wanted to say thank you to Carrie and her team, Town of Taber staff that put it together, and also to all of the other councils and staff that attended from other municipalities. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attend all the meetings I was required to attend. In the interest of time, I don't have much to say, except for the fact that the George Cuff thing was, again, successful in the sense of his presentation. I was somewhat disappointed of the lack of council members from the municipality not attending.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was able to attend most of my meetings. I had a sick kid, so I missed one. And I was able to attend half of the George Cuff training because my kids had a PD day the next day. But yeah, it was great training. Really appreciated it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. For myself, a number of meeting requirements, document signings, etc. Some media and complaint follow-up. I also attended the powwow in Lethbridge a few weeks back. That was a really, really impressive event. The first off was at the Friendship Center. There was a pipe offering ceremony that took place in the morning, and then the actual powwow itself was at the exhibition, new building, a major impressive building.
So did you smoke the pipe?
Absolutely, I did so. No, it's what the heck is it? It's not.
It's medicinal in nature.
No, it's there's a name. Yeah, there's a name for it, but it's not anything addictive or anything. Ceremony all the way. But the actual powwow itself, hosted by the Blackfoot Indigenous community, and there was 400 or 500 people in attendance, probably 200 or so Indigenous in full dress regalia, and with all their dance talents and displays. It was pretty impressive event. If nobody's ever been, it's certainly something to consider taking in. It was very well done, and a lot of cultural experiences passed on there for that purpose. So impressive event all the way around. I did also attend the seniors dinner, the after Thanksgiving get together, and thanks so much for everybody that took part in that. And Joanne, with all her cooking abilities, taking care of us that way. They had a lot of fun with it as well, so that was well received, went over well. And I also attended the George Cuff seminar related to the Good Governance project, and also to reiterate, thanks to Carrie and her team and all the efforts that go into that take place. And we had a reasonable attendance from all the other regional partners. But overall, it was done very well, and a lot of good comments. So thanks again to your team for all those efforts, and that was very well done. And George Cuff made it fun with his great sense of humor and way to put forth the message that we need to hear different times. So that would be my report. Unless there's any questions from anybody or for anybody, We'll move on to the next item. Item 710, standing items, council requests. Mr. Tebow.
So we did look after the top requests with Councilor Rudd earlier this evening, and the other two are still in progress at this point. So, floor is council's if there is anything to discuss.
Light boards indicated. We're gonna be here a while. Councilor Beckering.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was first.
Pretty close.
I'd just like to ask the question, I guess, regarding the high-level study on water. Can we get a possible time or date on that? 6 months from now, or a year from now, or some indication, please, if possible?
Do you have anything, Mr. Egan, you could provide? Please provide.
So we actually have an RFD coming, or plan to come to the next meeting. We've got a consultant estimate, and between staff time and a consultant, it's a fairly rudimentary effort, but it's about $5,000, and so we wanted to bring that back and address council and see if that was something that you would like us to do at that dollar amount, because there wasn't any, we didn't identify any dollars in our operating budget, although that's where we're going to suggest it comes from, likely, because it's not a big amount of money, but we didn't, the resolution didn't give us direction to do it with and expend dollars.
All right, Councilor Beckering, any interest to go forward with a motion in that regard, or just wait for the next meeting that comes up? Okay, thank you. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At one of the meetings that I attended, there was some discussion about building permits, and that perhaps that sometimes the building permits are holding up development, and I know that sometimes from public perception, permits are getting in the way or inhibiting development, but sometimes the permits are required. And I know that as a council that we want to encourage development and to streamline the process as much as possible. So I'm not sure if we have already done this, but to go through the building permits and to make it, to remove as much red tape as we can so that we are constantly, promoting and being as business friendly, I guess, as we can to the community or to potential investment. And if we have done that already, that maybe to create a checklist or guidelines of what to do or what to expect when you would like to build something in the town of Taber, just so that some of the feedback that I received was that, you get a permit, you come back, and then you think you're good, and then you go away, and then no, oh, I need another permit, and there's a lot of back and forth. And I don't know, maybe that is just the nature of building, but I just said that I would bring it forward. So if anybody has any input or discussion.
All right, thank you. Mr. Tebow, anything to add your end?
Nothing to add. If we wanted to create a motion to ask administration to revisit that process. I don't recall, Councillor Firth, the last time that was done. I do recall the question. I don't know if it was specific to building permits or not, or just the permit process in general, but yeah, if council wishes, we can certainly, administration can take a peek at the process and see how we compare to other places and our put through times, and if there's a way to be more business friendly as suggested.
All right, thank you. Did you have something in mind, Councillor Firth?
I can certainly craft a motion on the fly.
All right.
Or try to.
Councillor
I move.
Councillor Sorcy, a comment attached to that, or?
Well, if that's all right,
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to reiterate to you at the Alberta Municipalities Convention, right from Premier Smith, this was a mandate that she wanted to put forward, and to all, so it's not just our municipality, it's everyone, that they want to make it as business friendly and development friendly as possible. So I can appreciate this motion coming forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I move that council directs administration to review permit requirements and bring back to council any recommendations to streamline the building process, and to possibly create a checklist or guidelines about what is required if you'd like to develop in the town of Taber.
All right, I guess pretty thorough. Let's get it all covered.
Am I missing any?
All right. Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And Councilor Sorensen, you have something else also? All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And at the Alberta municipalities, and I know Mr. Tebow is a bit afraid sometimes of what I learned there and what I want to push forward, but the responsibility of recycling is now being extended to the producer. And this is a new program. It's called Extended Producer Responsibility. And there's a new program out there. And I think as a municipality, we just have to sign up for the program. And we would be in the forefront, because we already have a recycling program developed in our community. So I was just wondering if there's interest and if we could look into that program for the community. And I'd be prepared to make a motion of some sort.
All right, very well.
If that's all right. So I would like to make a motion that council directs administration to investigate the EPR program and the possibility of the town of Taber joining that program.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a few things. I don't know if I really want to make motions, but I was just wanting to bring a few things up. I had a couple of questions. Photo radar. I was curious as to who decides the placement of where it actually sits. I noticed on Thanksgiving weekend it was sitting in a school zone, so no kids were there, and it's Thanksgiving weekend, and I kind of was like, seriously? That, to me, that looks like a money grab right there. But for me, I would prefer, like, if we're having problem areas, that those areas be addressed rather than just, oh, pick these two places that you go and sit every time that they come. That looks like a money grab to me, rather than trying to address certain areas, you know, and saying, oh, we are going to be at a school during school hours when there's going to be kids at the school, rather than on the weekend when they're not going to be there. That, anyways, to me, I understand the safety of going 30 and I appreciate that, but if there are certain areas within the town that we find, you know, that the police service find there to be problem areas where people are speeding up or not paying, you know, not being more aware of the speed limits, then I would just appreciate that those be the priority. Those are my 2 cents on the photo radar. My other thing that I was going to mention was, since the snow is going to be starting to fall, last winter I noticed that the snow plowing, I don't know, we have the plan, but me and the mayor, I remember, noticed last year that 50th and 50th wasn't done for days in the beginning. And so I'm not sure where the plows were, and we were told that they were out plowing, and I understand that certain areas, it does take time to get there, but I also think that the town needs to be plowed before we worry about picking it up. People need to be able to drive around. They shouldn't have to have 4x to be able to get to work. So I feel like, as much as I appreciate the snow being picked up, I feel like that should be last priority. Get it plowed first, rather than worrying about plowing a section and then picking it up. But again, my 2 cents on the snow plowing. And then I had a question about concerts going past our quiet time. Like, for instance, Cornfest or Cornstalk. I know that those are big events. So I'm just curious if those are pre-approved through the CAO to go past our 11 p.m. quiet time, because they are quite noisy and basically the whole town can hear them.
All right, just to clarify, did you need, there's 3 different topics you covered there. Did you need a response to all 3 from Mr. Tebow there with any form of response?
No, I just...
Or just the last?
Just the last one is good. That's
Okay.
fine. The
Mr.
first two
Tebow.
are just.
So special events permits come in, excuse me, and I'm the final approver or reviewer and approver of those special event applications, but they do go through each and every department. So police being one of those. So permissions do get granted prior to them going past certain times. And if I recall, I believe there is even some, that might have been for Cornstalk anyway, something that was put on social media that suggested that that was going to be the case prior to it actually happening. But special event permits are approved prior to, and all department heads are involved in reviewing that special events application. So I guess short answer is yes, they come and get pre-approved.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I hope we don't penalize our special events, the few we have a year on noise complaints, because that brings a lot of revenue into town, and I'm really happy that we have them. My other thing, I think I probably should have brought this up instead of earlier, about the sidewalk in front, on 50th in front of the old Automart store, the chiropractor, Bonnie's Vision, the eye doctor, and Century 21. That sidewalk, if we could have administration have a hard look at that one, because it is causing some issues over there. I don't know if I need to go any further with that.
All right, I think it was already,
Yeah.
you did bring it up previous, but I think it was sort of understood to check that out, I believe, right?
Yeah. Just
So I don't know there's any.
standing items, I thought I'd bring it up again.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I don't think there's any need, as I understand it, for a motion in this regard. It's already.
No, all sidewalks are important, but that one I just noticed is getting
Okay.
quite crackety.
All right, thank you. Councillor McLean.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we're on the topic of sidewalks, I'm wondering, okay, from the highway, I don't know all the names of the streets in the town. So when you go from Highway 3 south past the Shell gas station and you drive towards Walmart and stuff, there is a sidewalk for part of the way, but not all of the way. I'm wondering why. And if we can add a sidewalk over there, because there seems to be a lot of people that either bike or walk, but there is a lot of road traffic on that road. And so just for safety wise, just to complete it would seem logical to me.
Yeah, I think I can probably add to that. Several years ago, I believe Councillor Bruin was also part of that ask, and that sidewalk goes down to that stage on the town's dime, and it was also requested to go further, but that would have been some business involvement also, and the businesses declined at that time. So that's kind of why it ended up where it did. And so I suppose it can be researched again. Mr. Tebow, has that come up as far as you're aware?
Not since I've been here, but I do know what part of town you're talking about and where their sidewalks are not.
Right, right. So saying that, on the existing sidewalk, there is a fair share of foot traffic, I would agree. Councillor McLean, so practicality speaking, it probably should be looked at. Now, that was, in the past, that's what was done previous, but the businesses involved with any extension there had no interest. So it was just kind of left at the time. And is that accurate? That's all right, Councillor Bruin?
Yes, that is true. We tried to get the business to pay with it, and they weren't interested. And I think honestly that some of that should fall on the businesses there for their customers. That they're leaving downtown Tabor to go shop out there. Let's put some skin in the game, I think.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Did you want to go forward with any motion, Councillor McLean? For research anyway?
Yeah, I think just like any other, you're expecting the, look at the other sidewalk, and that would be on our dime. I don't, you're not asking the businesses in there to contribute. So I think that we should look at the cost of finishing that sidewalk.
Do you want to just put that in the form of a
Yes,
motion? Okay.
please. I move that council directs administration to look at into the cost of extending that sidewalk to complete it on that road. From I don't know that street, but
from the BP, I don't know, it's a service road, I guess, but it's
the service
BP
road, yeah, in front of the BP, from the Shell station over towards Boston Pizza. Thank you, on 46th Avenue.
All right, that cover enough bases there, Mr. Tebow?
Yep, that'll do it for us.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Any other standing item council requests? Ms. Van Ham?
I was opposed.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Were you?
thank you.
Okay, I didn't see that. All right, thanks, Karen.
You don't turn good.
I don't have, yeah. Some days worse than others. You blend in. All right, so we got that covered. Okay, no other standing item council requests. Next is delegation. There are none. Media inquiries. Mr. Tebow.
There are none.
All right, just need a motion to close the meeting. Councillor Firth,
I move that we close the meeting.
motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. It's just before BP. It's like the vet's location. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Oh, okay, right. All right. Moving on, we're still live, folks. All right, carrying on with the organizational meeting, I will call that meeting to order and ask for the adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councillor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we, adopt the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right. All right, on to item 3, boards, committees, and commissions. Item 3.1, council participation on boards, committees, and commissions. Pardon me? Yes, Councilor Bruin.
I'll be the first to say I'm happy with all the committees I'm on, so unless someone wants to take over one of my jobs, but I'm very happy with the positions I'm in.
Okay, we're gonna have to go through this individually, so thank you. So the first one is the Arts and Heritage Committee. All right, and that's correct, that's right. Do you, so you're both good with that, Councilor Sorensen?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and there was some discussion as to if the meetings should be monthly or bi-monthly, and so I'm not sure if that takes place in this meeting, or is that something separate?
Yeah, I think that's already set, so that would have to be at another time, right, if we're gonna adjust that piece. But,
Okay. It's a bylaw.
right,
Okay.
yeah, okay, so
Okay.
we're okay leaving that as is?
Yes.
So someone prepared to make the motion to appoint Councilor Sorensen, Councilor Firth? Well, Councilor, Mr. Tebow.
If I understand Councillor Beckering correctly, we could have the discussion around all the names to be put into all those, but we were looking for the individual motions, if you wanted to read all the motions at the end, simply because we tried referring to the previous committees and it's really messy when when we don't speak to who's on what, because there's also MD council members on some of these that are represented, so we can't just refer to a previous meeting. Yeah.
All right, so for the first Arts and Heritage meeting, Councilor Bruin.
How do we start this year? I'm sorry.
Councilor Sorensen, Councilor Firth.
Council appoints Councilor Sorensen and Councilor Firth to the Arts and Heritage Committee.
Right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, for the Audit Committee. Currently, Counselor Sorensen, myself, and Counselor Beckering. Yeah, all right, Counselor Sorensen.
I'd like to make a motion, if that's all right, that council appoints me, the mayor, and Mr. Beckering to the audit committee,
Counselor Firth.
and Councillor Firth as the alternate until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 3, to myself, related to the committee, evaluation committee for our CAO, myself, Counselor Sorensen, and we don't have to have a third, but we did have 3. Do we want a third, or I want to leave it just with myself and Counselor Sorensen? We're good with that? Okay, so I'm gonna make that motion. Counselor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council appoints Mayor Prokop and Councillor Sorensen to the Chief Administrative Officer Performance Evaluation Committee until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 4, Municipal Planning Commission. Councilor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Councillor Bruin and Councillor McLean to the MPC committee.
And I think Mr. Tebow, an alternate was suggested.
That one?
I can be an alternate if.
And I would
members will do
suggest that the mayor's the alternate on that committee.
Right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 5, Municipal Emergency Management. Myself, Councillor Bruin, Councillor Beckering as the 3. Am I missing someone? All right. Just the 2? Is it?
I can make that motion again if someone wants.
Okay, sure.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion that myself, Councillor Bruin, Councillor Beckering, and Mayor Andrew Prokop sit on the Emergency Management Committee.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Councillor Beckering?
Mr. Mayor, if I made a correction, I think there's only 2 required, and I think, Mr. Mayor, if I may, you should be an alternate, not a regular member.
Oh, it doesn't say this.
It doesn't say that here, but okay.
We need 3 on there, though. We don't have enough members.
Mr. Tebow?
Ms. Van Ham recalls that there is no option available for an alternate on that particular committee.
So it's just 3 of us. Okay, all right. There is no motion. Motion on the table. All in favor?
Bruin, Prokop, Beckering.
All right, good, thank you. All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Item 6, Library Board. Councilor McLean, you're still willing for that? Okay, perfect. All right, so make that motion. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council appoints Councillor McLean to the Library Board until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 7, Tabor Municipal Police Commission. Both Councilor Sorensen and Councilor Firth still willing to let their name stand there, correct? All right, so we'll make that motion.
I have a question
Councillor-
on that, though. With the provincial appointee, have they appointed another one? No. Are they going to?
Yeah. Councilor Sorensen.
I'd just be prepared to make a motion that council appoints Councillor Sorensen and Councillor Firth to the Tabor Municipal Police Commission until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously.
Where is this guy?
Yes.
Do any work?
Yeah. It's coming.
Oh, you're
It's coming.
coming, don't worry. We don't know what else did.
What the heck? Did we miss an emergency? No, we didn't.
Number 8.
I'm just looking at my list here. It's not messing up here. Okay, yeah. Did we miss? Oh no, we got emergency management. Okay.
I sit on the rec board.
Well, yeah. Anyway, we did have that emergency management rec, or sorry, alternate originally, but anyway, that's changed. So, okay, Councilor Firth. Item number 8, related to Tabor Rec Board.
Yep.
And an alternate
Yep.
option,
Prepared to make a motion?
please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council appoints Councillor Bruin and Councillor Sorensen to the Tabor Recreation Board with Mayor Prokop as the alternate until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. That takes care of item 3.1. On to item 3.2. Requested council appointments.
Or what about wasn't there number 9?
Not on that one. On to related to the Barron's Eureka Board. Yes, okay. Councillor Bruin.
I'll make the motion that council appoints Mr. Garth Beckering to the Barron's Eureka Family and Community Services FCSS Board until the 2024 organizational meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, the Chinook Arts Regional Library. Yes.
You should take that one on.
Yes, absolutely. Councillor Firth.
I'll make,
Somebody will make it.
I'll make the motion, okay. Okay.
I move that council appoints Councillor Rumford to the Chinook Arts Regional Library System Board until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
Okay, yeah. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. You're on, yes. Intermunicipal, okay. On to item 4. Related to JADC, council appoints Councilor McLean, Councilor Sorensen, myself as alternate. Everybody is okay with that? So make that motion. Mr. Tebow?
I believe number 3, you've missed the Intermunicipal Development Committee, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay.
Who sat on that before? Myself and Garth.
Yeah, he was too, yeah.
Yeah, there was 3 of us on that. That's correct. Yes, we need 3 on that board. I'd put Danny in there too.
Okay, all right. Go ahead with item 3. Councilor Bruin?
Council appoints myself, Councillor Bruin, Councillor Beckering, and Councillor Renford on that.
Right.
The, Development Committee in 2024 until the 2024 council organization. Sorry.
All right, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councilor Sorensen? Okay, all right. So JADC is next, item number 4. Councilor McLean, myself as alternate also.
Thank you,
If
Mr.
that's-
Mayor. I move that council appoints Councillor Sorensen and me and Mr. Mayor as an alternate to the Joint Economic Development Committee until the 2024 council organizational
All right,
meeting.
thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item number 5, Tabor District Chamber of Commerce. It's currently Councilor Firth. You're still willing to let your name stand for that, correct? So we're prepared to make that motion. Councilor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we appoint Councillor Firth to the Tabor and District Chamber of Commerce Board until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6, Tabor Exhibition Association. Councilor Bruin?
Question to Mr. Garth, would you like to stay on that? Sure. Okay, because Danny was thinking he would do that.
Oh, sure thing. Okay.
I
You
would,
wanna do
I would,
Okay, you all right with that? Okay.
no, only if you don't want to be Garth, like,
Buy you a beer.
yeah, I thought I was doing you a favor. The council appoints, Councillor Danny Ramford to the Tabor Exhibition Association Board until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 7, related to Tabor District Handy Bus.
I think Danny should be on that one.
So, Councilor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council appoints Councillor Beckering and Councillor Remford to the Tabor and District Handy Bus Association Board until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. Item 8, Tabor District Housing Foundation.
This was Russ, right?
Yep. So, all right, someone prepared to make that motion. Counselor Sorensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that council appoints Mr. Renfort to the Taber and District Housing Foundation Board until the 2024 council organization meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And here is where item 9 comes in, related to the Municipal Airport Commission. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council appoints Mr. Mayor Prokop to the Taber District Municipal Airport Commission until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
I want WestJet to be able to come in.
Me too. Me too. All right. Okay. Item 3.3, item 3.3, ad hoc committees. On to Highway 3, first appointment.
I would like to remain on there.
All right, someone prepared to make that motion. Councilor Sorensen.
I'd like to make a motion that council appoints Councilor Bruin to the Highway 3 Twinning Committee until the 2024 council organization meeting.
All right,
Sorry
thank
about
you.
that.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 2, Mayors and Reeves. Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council appoints Mayor Prokop to the Mayors and Reeves meeting until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3, related to Recreation, or sorry, Shared Services Recreation Committee. Councilor Bruin and Councilor Sorensen are on that currently. You have not met in the last year?
We have not met.
Mr. Tebow?
We'll stay on that.
Mr. Tebow, is there any point carrying on with that, or?
Officially, they haven't absolved that, but I mean, if there's been no meetings, it could come back and we could be asked to go back to something if something were to start up. But if it hasn't happened in the last year, according to Mr.
Yeah.
Cuff, there might
2
not be
years,
much
correct.
reason.
So we can leave that, we can move on.
Yep.
All right, item 4, related to South Grow. There was alternate as required. Okay, oh, so it was Councilor Rudd originally. So Councilor Rufford, you're okay with that? Okay. All right. Excuse me. Councilor Firth.
Thanks. I'd like to make a motion that council appoints Councilor Sorensen to the South Grow Regional Initiative and Councilor Renfort as an alternative until the 2024 council organizational meeting. Sorry, I have to get
All
this
right,
down.
thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Councilor Firth. Councilor Firth, you want to go to the next one? The Related Traffic Committee.
Yeah, I move that council appoints myself to the traffic committee until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6, Veterans Memorial Highway. Councilor Bernie, were you on that one? You want to stay on that one?
I can.
Okay.
It's a difficult meeting to get to because a lot of them are way north.
Okay. But they do meet a couple times a year.
They're having problems getting quorum because it is such a
Oh.
long ways to travel. Sometimes.
Okay.
They've tried that, but
They don't do it.
not really successfully.
Okay.
Well, no, I think Carly, you'd be very good on that.
Councilor
Like,
Firth, you
kinda
want to
did
go
tie
with
in
that?
with Highway 3, I thought.
Yeah, right. It does, yeah.
But I don't mind if you want it.
Councilor Firth, you willing to take that? All right. Someone prepared to make that motion. Item 6. Councilor McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council appoints Councilor Firth to the Veterans Memorial Highway Committee until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 7, related to AUMA Police Act Review. Who's on that one?
I sat on this before, and then Rudd took it over from me. I actually enjoyed this.
Okay. Is that one meeting a year kind of thing, or what?
No, we were quite busy when they discussed the RCMP.
Okay,
I mean, it's not very busy.
yeah, all right. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that committee, that whole venture by the provincial government is almost at a dying end, I think, so.
I'd
So-
gladly sit on that.
Oh, there you go, that's right, yeah. Okay, someone prepared to make that motion, item 7.
Sure.
Right, Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that council appoints Council Brown to the AMA Police Act Review Board until 2024 council org meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 8, related to Eagle Spirit Nest. I'm currently on there, willing to stand.
I can make that motion.
All right.
I move that, Mayor Prokop sits on Eagle Spirit Nest Community Association.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 9, organizational meeting.
No, museum.
Oh, sorry, yep.
I can now, Dan Renford. I can make the motion that,
Dan Ramford. All right, Councillor Ramford. Okay,
on
Do it.
Terry Museum. I'm done.
you didn't say it. Did you get it? Okay.
I'll make the motion
9.
that, we appoint Councillor Renford to the Tabor and District Museum Society.
All right, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 10, West Trail Extension. Currently myself, Councillor Bruin, Councillor Firth, all willing to let our name stand? Yes? All right, someone want to make that motion? Councillor Firth?
I move the council appoints Mayor Prokop, Councillor Brune, and Councillor Firth to the West Trail Extension Project Committee, Tabor Trout Pond Committee until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
Right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right. Next is the item 11. We don't have to go through that one.
Oh, we're not appointing Darren?
No, he's already on there in another capacity. So we don't.
Appoint, Dan Renford to that one.
No, I think we were just talking about, you didn't think there was anything.
Shamrock.
Okay, so as for the discussion, nothing further to follow up on that? You're our representative. All right. Item number 12, related to the Southern Alberta Candier Association. Okay, Councillor Renford's willing to let his name stand with that. Someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor McLean?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council appoints Councillor Rumford. Yes, sorry. To
Item
the
12.
Southern Alberta Candier Association Committee until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 13, related to South Regional Stormwater Drainage.
I thought you were, weren't you guys?
Mr. Mayor?
Was it just me?
Perfect. Yep.
Okay. All right, someone make that motion. Councillor Firth.
I move the council appoints Mayor Prokop to the Southern Regional Stormwater Drainage Committee, SRSDC, until the 2024 council organizational meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, that's got everything. Okay, oh yes, that's right. The deputy mayor discussion, item 4.1. Mr. Tebow.
So just a bit of discussion around this one. We do have a decision that was already made prior to Councillor Rudd's departure. So there's a couple options administration had come up with. So the recommendation there in front of you speaks to redoing some timelines that does not include Councillor Remford. And then there's some alternatives down below that allow for Councillor Remford to participate in one way, shape, or form. So obviously up to council on which way you'd like to go for your discussion, but the recommendation is up in front of you.
My thoughts about promotion, I think.
Jack,
should be.
get your mic up. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Turn your mic on,
I'm
yep.
speaking. I like the alternate one. I think Councillor Ramford should have the opportunity to serve as deputy mayor during this term. So,
All right, yeah, no, in all fairness, from the start of any term, all members of the council do have an opportunity, so Councillor Renfrew coming in midstream makes sense, should have some kind of opportunity if the rest of the council also okay with that. But that seems fair and reasonable. Yeah, you're good with that too? That's good experience. Out of the way.
And it was unfortunate, I could see when I looked that it already passed.
Mostly, yes,
I
yeah.
just thought the gist of that, is what it is.
Right.
And then I seen this, so.
No, there's some good options for sure, so.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Everyone's okay with that, on the same page, okay?
so
All
the
right.
motion would be in accordance to section 3.4. What
Councillor Sorensen?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, are you willing?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I just have it on my screen.
No, you got it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion in accordance with section due to the timing and election of Councillor Renfert, council could choose to adjust the terms of the deputy mayor to include the appointment of Councillor Renfert for a term to be determined by council. One proposal could be council could reappoint, for example, for 7 months, 7 months, 7 months, and 6 months. In accordance with section 3.4 of procedural bylaw 11-2022 that allows council to waive particulars of section 5.4.2, which details the appointment of the deputy mayor to be 8 months. Council approves the appointment of deputy mayor for the following terms as amended. Can I just say as listed below? Or do you want me to list it? That's fine. Okay.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Good, thank you. And nothing else to cover with this, right? We're good.
Oh, you could arm wrestle.
All right. Any other media inquiries?
None for this meeting either.
All right, thank you. Then I would ask for a motion to close the meeting, please. Councilor McLean, motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
I thought it was